Mayor, if you can hear me, we are ready to begin the meeting.
Yes, Madam Clerk. Good evening, Cerrito residents and the member of our community. I'd like to call to order the Thursday, December 12th, 2024, 7 p.m. City Council Success Agency regular meeting and special meeting of the Cerrito Public Finance Authority. As I am participating in tonight's meeting by teleconference, I will ask Mayor Pro Tem Vo to serve as the chair for tonight's meeting. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. All right. I will go ahead and take over, and we'll start with the invocation tonight, which will be led by Pastor Jerry Mars from the Calvary Cross Chapel, and then after that, we'll be led by the Cerritos Aquatics Club for the Pledge of Allegiance. So can you please all rise and remain standing, please, until you're ordered to sit.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening. Father, as we come to reason together, may our hearts be at peace. May we be led by wisdom. May you show your hand here in this city of Cerritos. Father, I thank you for everyone here tonight, that your name be lifted high and that we will have divine strategies on how to live together and grow together in this great city. To you be all the glory, praise, and honor. Amen. Amen.
All right, can I get the aquatics to come up and lead us, please?
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And then while you're there, can you introduce yourself, your name, and maybe how old you are and what school you go to?
Hi, my name is Callan Koyama. I'm 12 years old and I go to Corvallis Middle School.
Hi, I'm Stella Ha. I'm 9 years old and I go to Cerritos Elementary School.
My name is Amelia Park. I'm 9 years old and I go to Landell Elementary School.
My name is Thea Plana. I'm 10 years old and I go to Leo Elementary.
My name is Hillary and I'm 9 years old and I go to Stowers Elementary.
My name is Xavier Zhang. I'm 11 years old and I go to Whitman Elementary.
My name is Ishan Kisti. I'm 11 years old and I go to Cerritos Elementary School.
Well, thank you. Can you give them a round of applause, please? All right, now to roll call. City Clerk.
Council Agency and Authority Member Barrows.
Present.
Council Agency and Authority Member Johnson.
Present.
Council Agency and Authority Member Yokoyama.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem and Vice Chair Vo.
Present.
Mayor, Chair, and Executive Director Solanki.
Present through teleconference.
All right, thank you. We're all present. And then we're going to go on to item 5, presentations and appointments. With 5A, I have some presentation. I'm going to go over there and I'll read it. All right. So the first presentation is going to be for Commissioner Richard Martinez. It is my pleasure, our pleasure, to recognize Richard Martinez for his dedicated service to the Parks and Recreation Commission from May 2017 through August 2024. Richard's tireless work has helped enhance the city's parks and recreational programming, and we are proud to present him with a plaque in appreciation of his efforts. I'd like to call his daughter, Cara Gutierrez, who will be accepting the plaque on behalf of her father to join me at the presentation, and somebody else. You'll let us know. Here you go. You want to say a few words? I'll get you the plaque.
I just want to say thank you on behalf of my dad. Thank you very much. This is my daughter, Ava.
What's up, Ava? How you doing? Here, you want to hold this for Grandpa? Here. There you go. All right, thank you. And then we're going to go ahead and step right here on this second step. And then my colleagues, would you like to come by and take a picture? Is that heavy? Is that too heavy? You got it.
Three photos. Ready. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Ava, your grandpa's watching right now, right? You want to say congratulations, Grandpa? No?
Thank you.
Okay.
Hold on one second. No, I want to have a picture with you guys. It's my appointee.
2 more. Ready. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 2.
Thank you. Tell them thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And it's so happy to sad to hear about this heart problem.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, and so next we're going to recognize Eagle Scouts. We do this all the time. It's such a privilege to have so many Eagle Scouts in our city doing community service. So if I can, because we have a few, can we go ahead and line all the Eagle Scouts along the wall here so we can just get you in line first? All right, so here's my script I'm going to read. So you guys get your scripts ready because you'll be reading too, right? Or are you going to have your own scripts? It is always an honor to recognize those that have achieved the rank of Eagle Scout. And tonight we are fortunate to recognize the achievement of 4 exceptional young men from Troop 693, that's perfect right there, who have earned this prestigious rank, an accomplishment that only 2% of Boy Scouts achieve. Their projects showcase leadership, dedication, and a strong commitment to make a difference. I'll first like to call on Tristan Chen to join me. Tristan's project at Zayin Elementary School involving organizing the construction of shelving and providing emergency supplies with the help of 71 volunteers. All right, would you like to tell us a little bit about your project?
Sure.
All right.
So I did my project at Zion Elementary at Garden Grove. Basically, they had a storage bin that was kind of a wreck. So I went in, put in some shelving, cleared out a lot of moldy food, a lot of stuff that's, kind of unsightly and not really sanitary. So we cleared that out, put in storage shelving, and squared away everything. So yeah.
Great. Thank you. I'm sure they appreciate that. Thank you so much. And we're going to go ahead and take a picture with the council.
Ready. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 2. 1, 2, 3.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
All right, the next person will be Jason Paul Gaberton. Oh, there's Tanat Zas. I hope I'm saying that right. Okay, Jason's Eagle Scout project involved renovating and beautifying the playground at the Artesia Cerritos United Methodist Church, where his projects took over 200 hours of work to complete and involved the support of 45 volunteers. Wow, that's great. All right, Jason, this is yours. And would you like to say a few words about your project?
I mean, the reason why I chose the Artesia Cerritos United Methodist Church is that both of my grandparents, my mom's side, were really heavily involved with the church. And I just thought that it would be really nice, honor them by, seeing what needs to be done and improved in that area. And I'm really glad that they appreciated what I was able to do for them.
Thank you. We're going to take a quick picture real quick.
Three photos. Ready. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 2. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Congratulations. Good job.
Congratulations.
All right, next would be Nathan Shin Lee. Your project was to beautify Central Park in Huntington Beach. I'm thinking Central Park all the way to New York. Oh, Huntington Beach by creating a garden of native plants, removing trash, and maintaining other park gardens with the help of 24 volunteers. And let me get you your plaque right here, your proclamations. There you go. And then would you like to say a few words?
First of all, thank you on behalf of the troop. I think my project, creating park gardens and renovating the public spaces of Huntington Central Park, were very much in the spirit of scouting. It promoted conservation and allowed for the beautification of the recreational centers of the park. Thank you.
Good job, buddy. Thank you. I'm going to take a picture real quick, okay? How old are you? 15. Man, you're tall.
Three photos for the city. Ready? 1, 2, 1. Oh, three more. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 2. 1, 2, 3.
All right. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
All right, next will be Braden Wan. All right, Braden, your project helped to develop a pollinator garden in Central Park East in Huntington Beach. The project was successful in helping to promote biodiversity and involved over 30 volunteers and took 200 hours to complete. That's awesome. So you got a lot of bees and stuff, and oh wow. There you go, Braden. Here's yours. And say a few words.
So my eco project was at Huntington Beach Central Park. I also created a pollinator habitat garden, which involved removing invasive plants, planting plants to help the pollinators, and creating concrete puddling dishes to help the butterflies. And overall, the project was very successful in creating the garden and for promoting the beautification of the park.
Great job. And then we're going to take a picture with the council. And after that, we'll have all the Eagle Scouts come back and we'll take a big group picture. And would you like to be part of it too, sir? Okay.
Three photos. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
All right, all the Scouts.
All right.
Come on.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
One more step. All you guys do that. One more step. That way. Yeah. There you go. Sir, good. Nice to see you. How you been? Huh? You good?
5 photos. Ready? 1, 2, 1. 2. 1, 2, 3. 4. One more. 1, 2, 5. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Busy. And you're part of the Bundle Park thing, right? Bundle Park, you'll be there? Yes. All right. Next, we have the Pacific Diving Academy. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to recognize 2 young divers from the Pacific Diving Academy, Ishan Kishti and Xavier Zhang, for the outstanding performances at the 2024 USA Diving Junior National Championship. Ishan placed 10th in the 1 meter springboard and 11th in the platform event, while Xavier earned top 10 finishes in both the 3 meter springboard and the platform events. Come on down, boys. You want to say anything? Oh, of course, right.
Thank you. On behalf of this, I'm part of the USA Pacific Diving Academy. We especially want to thank our coaches, coaches Amy and Andy Kwan.
I was expecting both of you to speak. You're just a diver, not a speaker? All right, gotcha. All right, Ishan, this is for you. And Xavier, this is for you. Exciting, look at this. You can just take it straight home, hang it on the wall right away. All right, council colleagues. Congratulations. All right. Congratulations to everybody. All right, we're moving on to 5B for an update on the Tuesday, March 4th, Cerritos general municipal election. City Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. Tonight, I will provide another brief update on the Tuesday, March 4, 2025 Cerritos general municipal election. If you would please turn your attention to the screen. And as many of you all know, in March, Cerritos voters may cast their ballots for 3 members of the City Council. Next slide, please. Thank you. And 2 charter amendment ballot measures. To obtain more information, please visit the city's website, call the Office of the City Clerk Elections Official, or email election2025@cerritos.us. The official candidate nomination period was extended to Wednesday, December 11. 10 candidates have officially qualified for placement on the March 4, 2025 ballot. This morning, the Secretary of State conducted a random drawing to determine the order names will appear on the ballot pursuant to the California Elections Code. Next week, our office will publish and post an official notice of nominees in 7 languages. The city website will also be updated accordingly. Yesterday, each Cerritos registered voter household was mailed an election postcard notification. The postcard lists each voter registered at the receiving address. Should any household have a discrepancy listing a voter not residing in the household, please contact the Office of the City Clerk as soon as possible. Our office will send the county registrar a notice requesting processing of updates to the county's voter database. Beginning in February, all active Cerritos registered voters will receive a vote-by-mail ballot. The last day to register to vote in the March election is February 17, 2025. Residents who have questions about how to register or about their registration status are encouraged to contact our office for additional information. This concludes tonight's election update. We encourage Cerritos residents to visit the city website, for information on the Cerritos general municipal election. We also welcome calls and emails to our office during regular business hours as posted. Thank you.
Thank you, City Clerk. All right.
Can I please ask a question?
Sure.
Thank you for that update, Cindy. So, we're having this standalone election. We're having this standalone election on March 4, 2025. I'm on record that I was against it. I wish we had consolidated it during an even year. And now we're facing a situation. We're having this standalone election on March 4, 2025. And there's going to be an election in Cerritos on February 25, 2025, because of the vacancy in the 36th Senate District. So our residents are going to be getting mail and a mail-in ballot. They're going to get mail about this February 25, 2025 election. They're going to be getting the sample ballot. They're going to be getting their vote-by-mail ballot. And I'm just wondering, has the city clerk's office begun the preparation to help our residents understand that there's overlapping voting periods for these 2 standalone elections that are going to be overlapping for our Cerritos residents, so they can intelligently make their votes for the 36th Senate District election in February, make their votes for the Cerritos City Council election in March, and then probably they're going to have to vote again in April for the special general election for the 36th Senate District. So now that the governor has announced the dates for the primary and the general election for the 36th Senate District in February and in April, are we going to work here in City Hall and the City Clerk's office to help our residents for these 3 elections back to back to back in February, March, and April? Thank you.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you, Councilmember Yokoyama, for your question. We absolutely will be working to educate Cerritos voters on the different elections that will be taking place back to back. We were only recently notified of an election that will be taking place just before our March election. And
Actually, 1 week before our election.
yes, and we will be working with the county to educate our voters and make arrangements for ballot collection at the ballot boxes. Our plan has not changed. We do plan to utilize the 2 vote-by-mail drop boxes that are located at the Civic Center Plaza and at the Cerritos Park East. And we will work to educate the voters on the difference, what the ballots will look like that are mailed. But essentially, each registered voter will receive a ballot as required by state law and may return the ballot by postal mail in the ballot drop boxes. For the county election, I do believe they will have in-person voting options, but more information is to come. We are in preliminary planning stages as far as how we will educate the voters, but we will absolutely get the message out there, and we will be attending some upcoming events, increasing voter outreach, such as at our farmers markets and upcoming recreation events as well.
And at this time, do we know are these 3 elections going to be using the same ballot boxes and the same vote in person locations?
Thank you for your question. I am aware of one election that will be using the ballot box concurrently, and we are in the process of making arrangements. But I literally we were notified only a couple of days ago. So before I release information, I want to have all of the facts straight.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so we're going to move on to public comments and suggestions. Item 6. This section is reserved for public comments on the consent calendar, closed session, and items not listed on the agenda, but that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the legislative body. Verbal comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker, subject to the mayor chair extending to a maximum of 5 minutes per speaker, with a total time allotted not to exceed 45 minutes unless the mayor chair extends it. With that, Cindy, do we have any correspondence first?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Prior to the meeting, the council received full text, unredacted copies of the 1 written comment submitted by the deadline for item 6. No written comments were received for any other items listed on tonight's meeting agenda. Requests for copies of written comments can be made to the office of the city clerk during regular business hours. This concludes the public comment information, and the meeting is now returned to the Mayor Pro Tem to open public comments under item 6.
Thank you. Okay, with that, does anyone want to address the council under public comments, item number 6? And do we have a list here? I don't see any speakers on the list. Anybody from the audience or the floor would like to address the council? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and bring it back to council, close public comments. And then before we go to consent calendar, I believe, Cindy, you have a correction to make.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. First, I would like to note, as a member of the legislative body is participating tonight in tonight's meeting via teleconference, all votes tonight will be conducted by roll call pursuant to Brown Act requirements. Prior to the vote on consent calendar items, I must note a typographical error on the agenda posted for tonight's meeting for item 7B2. Tonight, the council will approve the City Council successor agency treasurer's reports for the period ending October 31st, 2024, and not September 30th, 2024, as listed on the agenda. This will be noted and correctly documented in the minutes for tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, City Clerk. And I believe the City Attorney also has a comment for item 7D before we move on.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. Pursuant to the Ralph M. Brown Act, and specifically Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision C3, prior to taking final action, the legislative body must verbally report a summary of the recommendation for final action on the salaries, salary schedule, or compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits of any city employee that is defined as a, quote, local agency executive pursuant to Government Code Section 3511.1, Subdivision D, during the open session of the meeting, at which time final action will be taken. This verbal announcement applies to consent calendar items numbers 7D and 7I and the following local agency executive employees: City Manager, City Clerk, Assistant City Manager, Director of Community Development, Director of Public Works, Director of Community and Cultural Services, the Director of Administrative Services, and the Executive Director of the Cerritos Center for the Performing Arts. The summary is as follows: that the annual salary ranges for these employers are between $182,376 to $282,120, and the annual compensation in the form of fringe benefits range from $164,138 to $236,981, with these benefits generally including retirement, health insurance, life insurance, and workers' compensation. Overall, the net change in the total compensation as proposed for the annual salaries and fringe benefits for all of these executive employees, with the proposed cost of living adjustment, is an increase of $78,299 above what the current level budget is. The salary schedules for the local agency employees are included in the agenda package, and this concludes the required verbal report. I now return to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Bill. All right, with that, if no one wants to pull an item, do I get a motion, please?
I would like to pull
Okay.
item 7G and 7I from the consent calendar, please.
All right. So do we have a motion to approve everything else?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, just to, you're moving to approve everything except for 7E and 7G.
Correct.
Okay, I'm sorry, no, 7G and 7I. 7I, okay. All right, and we're going to have a roll call vote here.
Council Agency and Authority Member Barrows.
Aye.
Council Agency and Authority Member Johnson.
Aye.
Council Agency and Authority Member Yokoyama.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem and Vice Chair Vo.
Aye.
Mayor, Chair, and Executive Director Solanki.
Aye.
And the roll call is complete with a vote of 5-0.
All right, thank you. And go ahead, Frank, your comments?
Yes, we are a charter city, and our 3 charter employees, 3 of the most important employees in our city, if not the most important employees in our city, is the city manager and the city clerk and the city attorney. And I think with the goal of transparency, these 2 items should have not been on the consent calendar, because the public and the residents need to know about these appointments of a city clerk and a city attorney for our great city of Cerritos.
Are those your comments? That's it?
That's my comment.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to approve 7G and 7I?
Move to approve 7G.
I'd like to get a report on 7G and 7I. That's what my comment was, that in the spirit of transparency, the residents and the public should know about these great candidates that are going to be approved to be our next city attorney and our next city clerk of our great city of Cerritos. It should not just be approved without the public hearing about these individuals that will be leading our city with the city manager.
So what kind of report are you asking for? Because these are personnel, and these are personnel issues, so usually that's under closed session. So
Yeah,
what exactly are you asking for?
A report based on these public agenda reports. These agenda reports are public. It was placed on consent calendar. I think instead we can get a report from the city manager or whoever he chooses to delegate it to on his great team, so our residents and the public can hear about these great candidates for city attorney and city clerk who are going to be leading our city with the city manager pursuant to our city charter.
Are you talking about a report right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that a consensus with the council?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Robert.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Item 7G before you is a proposed appointment of Pam K. Lee for the position of Cerritos City Attorney. This comes at the direction of the City Council following closed session that occurred earlier this year. Information regarding Ms. Lee's background is provided in the report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions on that. Likewise, agenda item 7I is the proposed appointment and approval of employment agreement for Cynthia Nava as the Cerritos City Clerk. This also came at the direction of City Council following closed session action. And information regarding Ms. Nava's background is provided also in the report, along with a proposed employment agreement. Details of those were provided by Mr. Erkey a few moments ago. And if there's any questions I can answer on either item, we'd be happy to do so.
Thank you. Any questions? All right.
Motion to approve 7G and 7I.
Second?
All right, we'll have a motion and second. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Barros,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember
Aye.
Yokoyama,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Vo,
Aye.
and Mayor Solanki.
Aye.
And the motion passes on a vote of 5-0.
Thank you, and congratulations to you too. All right, moving on to, yep, go ahead and give. All right, moving on to item 8, public hearings. We have 8A, City Manager. Can you provide a report, please?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This first public hearing item 8A is for a proposed development project, which was reviewed by the Planning Commission and is coming to you at their recommendation for consideration. The presentation this evening will be given by current planning manager Sandy Cisneros.
Thank you, Robert. And good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Applicant Link Logistics is requesting approval of conditional use permit 2024 to permit light industrial warehousing, wholesaling, and manufacturing uses, and a precise plan 2024-10 to demolish 2 existing 2-story office buildings to construct a new 46 square foot 2-story industrial building at 17316 and 17326 Edwards Road in Cerritos. The proposed project also includes new landscaping, new parking areas, and other related site improvements. The applicant does not currently have a light industrial tenant for the proposed building, and the building will be developed on a speculative basis to accommodate light industrial uses. At this time, I'll turn your attention to the screen for the details of the proposed project. The subject property is located again at 17316 and 17326 Edwards Road, and it's located at the northeast corner of Edwards Road and Artesia Boulevard intersection. The 2.6 acre property is zoned Industrial M. This is a large aerial view of the subject property. The property was originally developed in 1983 and contains 2 existing office buildings totaling 36,500 square feet in area. Access to the property is via 2 driveways off Edwards Road, which is a 63 feet wide street. Paved parking areas are located on all 4 sides of the existing office buildings. The following slides show the existing conditions of the site and the office buildings. This is a view looking east at the existing office building located at the subject site. This photo is a view looking northeast at the existing office building. And this one is at 17316 Edwards Road. These are additional photos of the subject site. The photo on the left is a view looking south towards Artesia Boulevard and the single-family residential properties beyond. And photo 2 on the right is a view looking east at the northerly shared driveway entrance and drive aisle. The photo on the left is a view looking north from the southern side of Artesia Boulevard sidewalk towards the subject property and existing on-site mature trees. And the photo on the right is a view looking north towards the rear of the subject property and the Coyote Creek River channel. This is the proposed site plan. The applicant is requesting to construct a new 58,467 square foot industrial building with a 2,500 square foot first floor office area located at the southwest portion of the building and a 1,500 square foot office area above. The proposed industrial building includes a total of 50 parking spaces, including standard spaces, accessible spaces, and electric vehicle charging, and this is located on the site. This is the conceptual landscape plan for the property. It was prepared by a California licensed landscape architect. The proposed landscape design features dense landscaping throughout the property, utilizing water-saving plant material in the form of trees, shrubs, and ground cover. As proposed, chitapal trees, olive trees, and little gem magnolia trees will be planted along Edwards Road and Artesia Boulevard street frontages with the subject property and throughout the parking areas. Existing trees along Artesia Boulevard will be retained to screen the property from view from the residential uses located across Artesia Boulevard. Upon completion, the total amount of landscaping on site will be 26.3%, which exceeds the Cerritos Municipal Code landscape requirements. This slide is the proposed first floor plan as indicated in the report. This is a spec building, and therefore the exact details for the first and second floor offices have not been finalized. However, the office area will be located is shown on the plans, with the remaining area of the building dedicated to warehouse, wholesaling, and manufacturing. These are the proposed building elevations. The proposed industrial building will be contemporary in design, featuring smooth finish tilt-up walls with 2-inch wide horizontal scored reveals and vertical panels joints forming a grid pattern. In addition, the building will feature gray concrete formaliner enhancements and decorative stone accents on all 4 elevations in an effort to provide texture and accents to the building's architectural design. The exterior of the building will be a variation of white and gray color tones to highlight the building's vertical and horizontal lines. Dark metal canopies will be provided above transom windows on the south, east, and west elevation and will feature above the building's entrances located on the southwest corner of the subject property. The windows will be a combination of blue tempered vision glass and blue tempered concrete back spandrel glass panels with anodized aluminum mullions throughout. The north elevation of the building includes 5 truck height bay doors and 1 ground level bay door for loading and unloading purposes. On this slide is the applicant's proposed paint color and material board that shows the actual paint colors, glass color, and material samples for review. The paint color material board has been placed on the dais for the City Council's review. If you want to pass that around. This is a perspective rendering of the subject property looking northwest and shows the building, how it will look upon completion. 2 community meetings were held for the proposed project. The first was held on April 24th and the second on October 1st, 2024, in order to obtain public input and feedback on the proposed project. In advance of both meetings, the applicant mailed invitation to all property owners within 500-foot radius of the subject property. The first meeting was attended by community development staff as observers and one Cerritos resident who resides south of the project site. The project team presented details of the proposed project and solicited questions and comments from those in attendance. Following the meeting, the city received email correspondence from the resident who participated in the community meeting, expressing concerns regarding potential environmental impacts and also requesting an assessment of the designated truck routes. In addition, the resident requested that the hours of operation be limited and that the applicant fund fence wall improvements for privacy purposes for the private residential properties located across Artesia Boulevard to the south of the subject property. In response to the correspondence received, the city informed the residents that a thorough environmental analysis is required for the proposed infill project and that any such analysis and technical studies would appropriately assess potential impacts and would be provided to the resident accordingly. The second meeting was attended by community development staff as observers and one additional Cerritos resident who had not previously attended the first meeting came to the second meeting. The resident that attended the meeting was to obtain information about the proposed project. It should be noted that in addition to the community meeting efforts and at the request of the Cerritos Planning Commission on November 6, 2024, the applicant has met separately with the residential property owner who provided email correspondence to further address the residents' concerns related to privacy and screening of the residential property from any potential headlight impacts from vehicles entering or exiting the subject property. Following the Planning Commission meeting, the applicant and the residential property owner met and are currently working on details of a screening solution. The city retained the services of an environmental consultant. EPDS Solutions to conduct a thorough environmental analysis supporting a CEQA exemption determination for the proposed project. The project has been evaluated in accordance with CEQA guidelines and has been determined that the project is exempt from CEQA review pursuant to sections 15332 and 15300.2 of CEQA guidelines. The environmental document prepared for this project demonstrates that the proposed project qualifies for CEQA exemption as an infill development project or Class 32 exemption because it is consistent with the general plan designation and policies and zoning regulations, is located within the city limits, surrounded by urban uses, and is less than 5 acres in size. It has no value for endangered, rare, or threatened species, would not result in any significant effects related to traffic, noise, air quality, or water quality, and can be adequately served by all utilities and public services. Additionally, the environmental document demonstrates that the proposed project and its circumstances will not result in any exemptions identified in CEQA's guidelines section 15300.2. Therefore, staff has determined that the project meets the conditions of the categorical exemption allowed for infill development under section 15332 and will not result in any exemption found in 15300.2 of CEQA guidelines. In addition to the CEQA exemption analysis, a traffic impact assessment was required by the city and prepared for the proposed project. A traffic consultant was retained to provide the traffic impact analysis, which included a vehicle miles travel or VMT analysis, a level of service analysis or LOS, and a warrant analysis. Pursuant to the VMT assessment and the use of these guidelines, the existing site as general use office generates a total of 396 daily trips, with 56 trips during the AM peak hour and 53 during the PM peak hour. In contrast, the proposed use as a general light industrial use classification is anticipated to result in a total of 285 daily trips, with 43 trips produced in the AM peak hour and 38 trips in the PM peak hour. Therefore, the proposed project is forecasted to generate approximately 111 fewer net daily trips, therefore having a less significant impact on traffic. The analysis concluded there will be no significant traffic impacts, and the city's engineering division concurs with the traffic impact assessment conclusions. In addition to the interest of studying the applicability of the change of use and/or improvements to the subject property, a traffic signal warrant analysis was conducted for the Edwards Road and Artesia Boulevard intersection, which is directly adjacent to the subject property. Such analysis determined that such criteria warranting a traffic signal at this intersection has been met, and therefore the installation of a traffic signal at this intersection was considered as part of the proposed project. It should be noted that as a result of a separate past analysis of this intersection by the city has included a project in the City Council adopted fiscal year 2024-2025 Capital Improvement Program, or the CIP, for the installation of a traffic signal at this intersection, and it's labeled as project number 23401. While funds are not anticipated to be expended for this CIP project until fiscal year 2025-2026, the applicant for the proposed project will be required to contribute its fair share, which is 3.73% of the estimated project costs, towards the traffic signal installation, and this will be prior to the issuance of permits of the proposed project. In addition to the traffic analysis, the city's established truck routes were assessed to verify that adequate truck routes would support the new light industrial building with little to no impact to residential properties in the city of Cerritos. As mentioned previously, the proposed new light industrial building includes 5 truck height bay doors and 1 ground level bay door for loading and unloading purposes. In response to such assessment, project-specific condition of approval 61 has been added to the conditional use permit 2024 and precise plan 2024-10 in order to designate the required truck routes for trucks arriving at or leaving from the subject property once the property is occupied by a tenant. The truck map on the right side of this slide illustrates, on the left side of the slide, illustrates the truck routes for the proposed development. These are the existing established truck routes for this area of the city relative to the subject property, and no changes to the existing established truck routes have been made due to the proposed development. This concludes the details of the proposed project, as well as the CEQA analysis. Before you this evening is consideration of conditional use permit 2024-1 to permit light industrial warehousing, wholesaling, and manufacturing uses at the subject property. Precise plan 2024-10 to demolish 2 existing office buildings, construct a new industrial building, and complete other related site improvements. At this time, it's recommended that the City Council review and discuss the information provided, conduct a public hearing, and adopt resolutions approving conditional use permit 2024-1 and precise plan 2024-10. City staff would like to note that the Los Angeles County Sanitation District received a public hearing notice and inquired about the project. However, after reviewing the details of the project, they indicated that they had no comments. Lastly, city staff would like to identify some minor corrections to the proposed conditions for approval that were made at the Planning Commission meeting but were not reflected in the council agenda materials. The first is project condition of approval 54, which is listed as Artesia Boulevard sidewalk. The revised first sentence should read 180 square feet to replace 250 square feet. Next, project-specific condition of approval 55, which is labeled Edwards Road Curb and Gutter. This was corrected from square feet to linear feet. These corrected conditions of approval for the project will be provided to the applicant, placed in the files for the records, with the amended conditions of approval being reflected in the minutes for this evening's meeting. This concludes staff's presentation. Mr. Lopez, Director of Community Development, Kristen Aguila, and I would be happy to answer any questions at this time. The city's environmental consultants, EPD Solutions, are in the audience and are available for questions from the council. And these project applicants are also here as well.
Thank you, Sandy. Any questions from council? I have a question in regards to the traffic signal that you're discussing there.
Mhm.
Have we been getting, can you just really quick summarize why we need a traffic signal there based on the requirements and the condition? Because I'm looking at the map, it's a 4-lane highway in both directions. Is it because of the elevation and Artesia goes over to the creek, or is there any obstructions?
The traffic engineer who prepared the traffic impact analysis and the warrant analysis, which did the traffic signal review, basically they did a review of the traffic counts and all of the items that warrant a signal and determined that a signal was needed. And what I had mentioned in the presentation and what's in the report, the city also have conducted a intersection review for that traffic signal, and they found that it was necessary. So what we did is we had the traffic consultant reaffirm that it was still the case.
So
They did a whole new study, and then they also verified that it was still needed, but it is also in the CIP already.
So yeah, I guess I get in general it's needed based on studies and surveys. I guess I want to pinpoint maybe one or two reasons why it's important there, when there's other locations that are probably just as important, if not more important, for safety. Because I drive up and down that street many times, and a signal there. I'm familiar with that street. It's only 1.5. We have one street in between Edwards and Marquardt, and there's also traffic control devices at Marquardt and Artesia. And driving 1.5 block down the street, now there'll be another traffic signal, just for a business street down Edwards. Is it because during? I guess I'm trying to get specifics. Is it because during rush hour when employees are coming in, employees are leaving, it causes a traffic issue? Is that why we need traffic signal there? Because, I've been trying to get a traffic control device over Claretta and Del Amo, because that section right there has been, challenging, to say the least, for the crossing guards there. And the money spent to put it here, is this something that we're doing because somebody told us we had to?
I can go ahead and answer that. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council. Thank you for the question regarding the traffic signal analysis. So I will go ahead and talk a little bit, and then we can go ahead and defer to Public Works Director Alvin Papa if he has anything to add. So as Sandy mentioned, several years ago, the city did its own traffic signal warrant analysis. And the purpose of that analysis is to assess the traffic impacts, the level of service during AM peak and PM peak along Artesia Boulevard and the intersections that are in proximity to that Edwards and Artesia crossing. Right now, and as assessed by the city's warrant analysis several years ago, and then reconfirmed through this traffic analysis, it shows that in the installation of a signal at Edwards and Artesia would take the levels of service along Artesia Boulevard from an unsatisfactory level to a satisfactory level to help the traffic flow along Artesia Boulevard and specifically the intersections adjacent to, or I guess we could say next to the Artesia and Edwards intersection. I hope that provides a little bit of clarification. I'll defer to Alvin if he wants to go into the level of service deficiencies.
Before you, how much, you said they had to pay 3-point-something%.
3.73%.
How much is that, and how much is the total cost of installation of that light?
In our capital improvement program, we estimated approximately $750,000, and the 3.3% was calculated based on that city assessment of $750,000. That 3.73% was calculated to determine the impact of this project on the overall deficiencies, and that impact is 3.73%.
And so it's 3% of 750,000. Okay. Okay. No, that's fine. You don't have to do the math.
Approximately 25,000.
Okay. And Alvin, did you had anything else to add, or?
Yeah, no, I think echoing everything. Yes, no, I agree with everything echoed by that was discussed by our planning department. So typically these traffic engineering studies, they do a warrant analysis on various factors and various conditions. And so if it was studied once and it was studied again, there's a need to improve the level of service. Sometimes a traffic signal will help. And so, in this instance where it was reviewed several years ago, and it was reviewed again when the development came in, they updated traffic counts, they looked at the numbers, they looked at the impact. So the traffic signal is warranted, and so that's what was recommended in the report.
Okay, yeah, so I get all that. I guess I'm trying to get you guys to tell me why is it warranted? Why did we even go there just to get that study? Did we get collisions? Did we get complaints? Did we just pick a location and say, hey, we want to put a traffic light there to see if it's warranted or not? Because you're talking about traffic flow, I would think putting a traffic light about a block and a half from another intersection would actually preclude traffic flow, but I'm not an expert in that. So that's why I just find it interesting why that location is deemed required or appropriate to have a traffic signal there.
I can provide some additional background. This was looked at years ago because there were complaints related to the amount of truck traffic that comes in and out of that intersection from the industrial areas. The trucks from those industrial properties would have significant queuing that would back up all along Edwards Road while trying to make a left turn to get onto Artesia to get to the freeways.
Thank you.
So it's kind of
that is what I was looking for. Thank you. So there is a reason why we studied that, and that's why it's warranted. That's what I was asking for. Thank you so much. So that makes sense now to me. Thank you. All right. Any other?
Thank you. When you talk about easing traffic flow, is there a way that we're going to ensure that the lights are signalized so that you can, the east-west is long backups, during rush hour. And my assumption is that if we had a light and whenever we tried to signalize in the past, like around the mall, it doesn't work. I mean, I say it doesn't work, it doesn't continue to work. So is there something we're going to do that we're going to have better control over the timing of the signals?
Yeah. So.
And I know there are software programs that do that. Are we going to finally start to do that, in this occasion?
Yes, sir. So as part of this project, whenever the signal is installed, we have a traffic engineering consultant that will look at the timing. Once the signal is installed, they'll continue to monitor the intersection to check the flow, and they'll adjust the timing over the next couple of months.
But you're telling me that we are not going to have a control center, like, here at City Hall or somewhere, like other cities have.
Yeah,
We're going to rely on serendipity to make this thing work.
Well, we currently don't have a traffic management center. I think that's something in the future that the city can consider. But right now, the way is, if the signals that are connected on the freeway, we do work with Caltrans, and we time our signals based on their signal timing. And so we do our best to adjust and optimize the flow of traffic based on what the signals that Caltrans are doing. So there is some coordination that, from the traffic that's coming off of their system, we can adjust our signals best to optimize the flow through. And in the future, a traffic management center is something that could be considered as part of a future CIP if that is the will of the council.
Okay, we asked for something like that back in the 90s. And at the time, I had a brother-in-law that was, working for a firm that did that. And here we are 30 years later, and we're still not there. And if we rely on Caltrans, that doesn't work. All we have to do is look at Bloomfield and how traffic backs up during rush hour, and it backs up all the way from the freeway all the way down to here. So, I would encourage that we, move in that direction as quickly as possible, because, it's like the whole world's moving very fast, and in this case, we're ignoring it. And I think it's really to the disadvantage of our city, to not make this work more efficiently. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Any other questions? Okay, I'll go ahead and open up public comments. Anyone like to speak on this item from the floor? I don't have anybody listed, and I don't have any cards on this item. Okay, any questions for the engineers and developers? We're all good? All right, I'll bring it back and I'll close public comments. And any more comments or a motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
Thank you. Go ahead and roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Barrows,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Yokoyama,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Vo,
Aye.
and Mayor Solanki.
Aye.
The motion passes on a vote of 5-0.
All right, thank you. Okay, next, moving on to new and old business, 9A. Do we have a report?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Item 9A comes back to the City Council following up on discussion that took place at your meeting on November 4th. This is the culmination of the strategic plan process that has been occurring for the last several months that involves considerable community input along with input from the City Council. We're pleased to invite back Mr. Mike Egan from the firm Trepepi Smith, who's going to provide an overview of the information in the strategic plan based on the input that was provided by the City Council. And with that, Mr. Egan and myself and our city team are available to answer any questions regarding the recommendations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lopez, and thank you, City Council, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, for this opportunity to present the final strategic plan report based on the work that we've done over the past few months. Next slide, please. As a reminder, these are the steps that we undertook to bring this project to this evening's meeting, starting with our meetings with the executive team in September and culminating this evening with this final report. Following input from your community, from the City Council, from your staff, we are recommending that you consider adopting 8 overriding goals as your strategic plan with 42 actionable objectives, which I intend to go over this evening. For the purpose of just understanding how this is laid out, each of the goals is listed at the top of these slides. Each of the objectives is then on the left, and the responsible department is indicated then in the next column, and the timeline for implementation is following. I will have one recommendation for a modified timeline on item 6 or goal 6 that I'll get into a little bit later. My intent this evening is to go through the entire presentation. Please, if you wish to get clarification or something, feel free to stop me as we move along. So the first goal that we've come up with is to enhance public safety, and there are 5 objectives under consideration. You've already done quite a bit of work over the last couple of months in this area and made significant progress, but these are the overarching goals for enhancing public safety. The first, to start with the objectives, is to expand the residential burglary suppression program by establishing a hybrid community service officer and private security program to supplement and support deputy sheriffs with things like non-injury traffic reports, non-threatening crime reports, fingerprinting, and other items. That would be to help deputy sheriffs in the field. The second objective is to expand and expedite the rollout of the ALPR program, or Automated License Plate Reader program, and to continue to lobby the county for significantly improved responsiveness on items like this. The third objective is to implement a drone program for crime suppression. The fourth, to develop a more robust partnership between the city and Sheriff's Department relative to contract oversight and safety initiatives. And the fifth is to explore the use of emergency technologies on an ongoing basis and analytics to enhance situational awareness. The second goal, with 8 objectives, is to attract and retain a highly skilled workforce. One of the things we're going to ask you to do this evening is to prioritize the goals. You'll recall from our last meeting, this was goal number 5, but based on council input, we've moved it up to goal number 2, because in order to accomplish all of this plan, you'll need a highly skilled, highly qualified workforce. So again, there are 8 objectives under this goal. The first is to achieve and maintain full staffing. The second, to conduct a staffing assessment of all departments and assess staff to customer or project ratios, and to assess a cost per service component. The third is to establish a competitive compensation policy that includes both financial and non-financial benefits, and which is regularly reviewed by the council. The fourth is to develop a comprehensive training program, accessing your partnerships with agencies like the California Joint Powers Insurance Authority, the League of California Cities, the Institute for Local Government, and others, and to include developing a mentorship program for new employees and establishing a train-the-trainer program for key functions in the city. Next slide. The fifth objective is to review and formalize communications protocols and reestablish regular leadership updates to enhance transparency and staff engagement. Item 6 is to conduct annual employee climate surveys and formalize an exit interview process to continually monitor and improve employee awareness and engagement. Objective number 7, to create and launch a leadership development program, ensuring an ongoing pipeline of qualified leaders moving forward. And the final objective in this goal is to update hiring practices to implement industry best practices for recruitment, selection, and onboarding. Those come from a consultant in the HR space that has been assisting the city for the past number of months. Goal number 3 is to assess and maintain infrastructure. The first objective, there are 5 objectives here. The first is to explore alternative project delivery options, including job order contracting and additional on-call contracts for faster procurement, updating specific operational master plans, and there are 9 areas, operational areas listed here. Some of them are required by law. Continuing with objectives number 3, conduct a citywide facility condition assessment. Number 4, establish a capital improvement program, prioritization methodology reflecting community needs and resource availability. Number 5, establish an asset management program including inventory, maintenance, and replacement schedules. Goal number 4 has 5 objectives. Goal number 4 is to strengthen economic development. The first objective is to complete the preparation of the economic development strategic plan and commence with implementation. That plan is under preparation at this time. Objective number 2, establish a property maintenance partnership program to assist property owners in enhancing the economic potential of their properties. Number 3, for mixed-use developments coming forward, leverage your opportunities with an enhanced infrastructure financing district or EIFD. Item 4 is to ensure all city-owned properties are leased at their highest and best use to maximize return on investment, leveraging opportunities to strengthen partnerships with lessees toward mutual gain to maximize return on investment. And the 5th objective in this goal is to explore opportunities to adapt development policies and processes to support a dynamic marketplace. Goal number 5 with 6 objectives is to improve technology, the city's technology resources. The first objective is to migrate to the full Microsoft Office suite. The second is to draft and promulgate the Information Technology Master Plan. The third is to update your software systems citywide and by department and increase efficiency for the organization, for residents, for records retention and records access. That would include permitting software and digitizing the city's records. Through that, we would recommend that you identify a consultant to conduct a records management assessment, establishing a consistent methodology across the city. Objective number 4, develop a comprehensive artificial intelligence policy and evaluate opportunities to enhance city programs through the appropriate use of ongoing emerging technologies. Objective 5, implement the Tyler Enterprise Resource Planning Program, which is something you're already working on. Item 6 is to complete the implementation of the Information Technology Master Plan. Goal number 6 is to focus on fiscal transparency and sustainability. The first objective is to review and assess citywide fiscal policies, which include the following 3 items: establishing a reserve policy by fund type, establishing a cost recovery policy by function, and establishing a policy of target funding levels for unfunded pension liabilities. This is the item that I mentioned we'd like to recommend a modification to the document you see here, and that you expedite the establishment of those policies, which will help your staff and guide them in the development of your budget for decision-making progress going into the next year. The second objective is to conduct a comprehensive fee analysis of all city programs with a third-party consultant. The third is to conduct a comprehensive budget review process and transition toward fund-based budgeting. That's also been identified in previous audits done by the city. Goal number 7 is improving communications. The first objective is to expand the use of your GoGov app to accomplish improved status of service reportable to the community. The second objective is to conduct a comprehensive community communications assessment. This would measure the effectiveness and optimize targeted communications across all of your communications channels and develop an ongoing targeted messaging to support strategic plan objectives across departments. Objective number 3 is to develop and implement a comprehensive marketing strategy for economic development. Objective 4, invest in additional tools to provide expanded access to city services through cerritos.gov. Objective number 5 is develop a more robust partnership between the city and the Sheriff's Department relative to community education and messaging. And objective 6 is to establish a publication education program adapting to evolving community expectations related to community preservation. The final goal, number 8, has 4 objectives. The goal is to ensure continued excellence in community recreation, and community programming. The first objective is to conduct an assessment of community needs to determine the most effective program offerings and hours of operation for your senior center, your library, and your recreation facilities. Objective 2 is to evaluate the creation of a 501c3 nonprofit to create opportunities for fundraising for the Cerritos Center for Performing Arts. Objective 3, enhance coordination between the library and the CCPA for the performing arts in art education and other arts to better meet community needs. And the final objective is to engage with the business and academic communities to leverage technical support, assistance, and engagement on the production side of programming and events. In summary, these are the 8 goals that we're recommending with the corresponding objectives that I just went over. Next slide, please. And the staff recommends that the council take the following actions for consideration this evening. Review and consider the goals and corresponding objectives. Confirm or reprioritize the goals in rank order. Adopt the strategic plan including or inclusive of any modifications directed by the council, and direct the city manager to utilize these goals and objectives for preparation of the 2025-26 budget. With that, I will turn it over to you, Mayor Pro Tem, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions?
I just have a suggestion. Mike, thank you for the report. It's very thorough and obviously very timely. 7.3, which talks about economic development, shouldn't that be under goal number 4? I think that's what we've been asking for.
If I may, and I would defer to the staff, but I think we started off with this in goal number 4, but given the fact that it's under the communications goal, we decided to put it here. But again, this is your document and up to the council.
Well, to me, when I look at it, not to be argumentative, but it says, community development, community communications. And to me, there's 2 definitely different marketing approaches. And I believe nationally, when you're looking at trying to attract, the higher end companies that come in, it's going to require a totally different strategy than the communications that we do with our residents. It's just it may be that we need to define it in 2 different ways, one for the community, one for the business side. Because, the discussion we started over a year ago with, the high-end technology, using, ultra high speed, bandwidth. The people that are interested in using that would pay more, that pay higher salaries for the jobs and so forth. There's no communication that we're going to do locally within Cerritos that's going to help us. It's got to be on a national, international basis. And that's why I'm proposing that we should, probably bifurcate the phrase, one to identify what we're looking for, that we started on the business side over a year ago and where we are today. And I believe, I agree with you, it needs to be under the community also. But it's 2 different approaches. And I honestly don't believe that there's one individual that can do that. It's going to take people at different skill levels.
We certainly could include an objective in the economic development section to more accurately reflect what you're trying to do, and then maybe modify the wording here a touch.
I should get council consensus for that if I can.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I do.
Go ahead.
Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, Mike. That was a very excellent report. I appreciate it. So going back to goal number 6, objective number 6.1, I don't think I quite understood what you were saying. Is that something you think that should be prioritized in the goals for consideration, like moving it up?
Yes,
How
my intent
far up?
was to recommend that you do that the first part of 2025 so that that could guide the staff in terms of their budget preparation. It would give them some benchmarks to work from in order to bring forward recommendations in your budget.
So are you saying then maybe reorder the goals, like that
No,
would be number?
let me get to it, just a
Okay.
moment. I think all that I'm saying is, right now, it says on the timeline, December 2025, and I
Oh.
would say early 2025, January, February.
All right.
And that will help guide the budget process.
Can I get council consensus then to speed that
Yes.
up?
So in order to do that, we're going to have a policy committee meeting in regards to guide the staff, or is the staff going to be staff generated for this?
The direction from City Council can include bringing that to the policy committee. That would be a step in the process.
Because ultimately the council is going to be the one that approves it.
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to have to establish the policy committee back. So that'll be up to the mayor to do that. So Naresh, would you want to direct staff to initiate the policy committee in early January so we can initiate this policy?
Yes. Yes.
All right, so that means you're going to have to pick 2 committee members, because I don't think we can bring back the old policy committee. The current mayor would have to pick the new committee members. Is that correct? City clerk?
We do have designated members of the policy
we do?
ad hoc working group that was set by the mayor this past spring.
Okay.
That would still be in effect.
Gotcha. And who are they on the committee? Do we have that?
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, if you just give me one moment, I will pull up our brochure.
Because a lot of us are on committees and and we just want to be reminded, and so we know who to expect to be working on this. In the meantime, Linda, do you have anything else?
I do,
Okay, go ahead.
yes.
Why don't we go ahead and move forward until?
Yeah, my
City Clerk.
question maybe to staff, to Drew, what's the scope of services that we receive from Trepepi Smith? Is there a follow-up? Are they involved in the implementation of these objectives? Or is this it for Mike?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. The current scope of work for Trepepi Smith does conclude with this delivery tonight. We'll work with them to finalize, based upon the input we received from council and further direction, the strategic plan. But in the current scope of work, this will be in the process. Other than Mike is our neighbor down the street and certainly is a wonderful colleague.
It was a pleasure working with you, Mike.
You as well, thank you.
All right, is that it? Anybody else? Frank, do you have anything? Mayor, do you have any comments on this at all?
No, we already went through with the staff all the
All right.
comments.
All right, thank you. And with that, I'll go ahead and open it up. Oh, wait, you got something? Oh, yeah, City Clerk, you have an answer yet?
Yes, thank you for your patience. The members of the Policy and Procedure Ad Hoc Working Group are Mayor Pro Tem Vo and Councilmember Barros.
Okay. So with that, then I guess we'll set up a meeting after the holiday so we can get this moving forward. Okay, thank you. All right, any other comments, questions? All right, we'll go ahead and open up public comments, and let's see if there's anybody. I don't have any speakers listed. Anyone from the floor would like to address the council on this item? Anybody? No? All right, bringing it back to council with any more comments, if not a motion.
Move to approve
With the
with the amendment
changes.
made with the consensus request made by Councilmember Barros.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you. All right, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Barros,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Yokoyama,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Vo,
Aye.
and Mayor Solanki.
Aye.
And the motion passes on a vote of 4-1.
All right, thank you.
Before we move on, can we find out the reason why there's a no vote? For the record.
No.
All right, we're moving on. Let's go on to, and Mike, Thank you again for your services. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to item 9B. City Manager, report, please.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Item 9B comes to you at the recommendation of the Parks and Recreation Commission. It's a proposed new initiative that was reviewed and discussed and is being presented to the City Council for additional direction. The presentation this evening will be given by Director of Community and Cultural Services, Annie Hilton, and following her presentation, she and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. During its regular meeting held on October 3rd, 2024, the Parks and Recreation Commission reviewed a report about a proposal for school tree planting initiative in Cerritos Parks that was prepared by Commission Chair Pino Patek. The proposal describes an initiative that allows schools in the city of Cerritos to plant a tree in any park within the city and states this initiative aims to foster a deeper connection between students and their local environment, promoting a sense of pride and responsibility towards our community parks. The proposal details include tree planting permission, tree naming, educational benefits, and long-term impacts. According to City of Cerritos Policy 6.02.050, city commissions and committees are not permitted nor authorized to commission special projects or direct the use of city resources to perform work that is beyond the scope and/or purview of the respective commission or committee without obtaining prior city council approval. During the October 3rd meeting, the Parks and Recreation Commission approved requesting authorization from the City Council to study the feasibility of the city working with the schools to develop a tree planting program in Cerritos Parks. The fiscal impact of the project depends on the following factors: the number of participating schools, cost for each tree, staff time required to assist with the tree planting process, and required care and maintenance once a tree is planted. Staff recommends that the City Council review and discuss the information provided in the staff report and, per city policy, approve one of the following three options. Option A, approve the school tree planting initiative suggested by the Parks and Recreation Commission, authorize use of city resources, and direct staff to report back to the City Council with a proposed plan for implementing the project, or B, refer the matter back to the Parks and Recreation Commission with modifications, or C, deny the Parks and Recreation Commission initiated request. This concludes my report, and at this time, City Manager Robert Lopez and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the council?
Yeah, I do. Did they discuss a version of this came up years ago, if I remember correctly, and resulted in us denying working with them? It's a mix of trying to use city funds for an educational purpose, for a school district. Did they discuss having the school district, supply their own trees and plant more trees on the school properties? Because I know there is a lack of trees on some of the school properties. Do you know whether or not that was discussed?
That was not discussed. The scope of the discussion really adhered to the proposal that was prepared by Commission Chair Pino Patek, and essentially his description and proposal was that the trees specifically would be in the city's parks.
Now, is this also going to come up every year because you have different students every year, or as they rotate through? So would this be like a yearly expense, bringing in a request to plant more trees, and so forth?
If the City Council had an interest in this program, staff would develop a proposal for how it could be managed. So at this point, his outline does not go into any level of detail in terms of frequency and quantity of plantings. So that would be something that, if the council had an interest in this, staff would come back with some suggested recommendations on how such a program could be implemented.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Thank you. I know it's up to the council to decide on how we should implement this, but I feel there's just not enough information for me here to make a decision at this point. So I'm not inclined to get into or to participate in a program where it's the use of our parks. I certainly would entertain a partnership with the district, maybe on some other kind of program, but with the use of our parks and not really much information on here, I'm just not inclined right now to do that.
Thank you. Any?
Bring up one more thing, Bill. Maybe you can, probably illuminate a little bit. And Robert, I believe the only use that we can do with funds is joint use projects. For instance, the facilities, the fields, things like that, things that benefit both parties. So we say not enough information. We should start right there and then look at the rest, because this doesn't look like a joint use situation. And Robert, the amount of trees that we have in the parks, and I know we're adding some on special occasions in memory of, how much more can we add to the parks without cutting down the use of the parks?
We, as you alluded to, we do have a memorial tree planting program. It's a handful of trees at most that are planted every year. Our parks maintenance staff do periodically go and refresh our urban forest in the parks. As trees become diseased or as they age, they need to be removed. We do replace them. But the parks were designed from the beginning to have a mix of active uses like ball fields and then passive uses, including trees and just kind of grass spaces. So designs of the parks, there's some room for new trees, but there is consideration for providing open spaces for more active uses.
And the other question, in which the report doesn't address, is how many schools, for the public record, for people to know, how many schools within ABC are within the city of Cerritos?
I do know there's 19 elementary schools, 5 middle schools, 5 high schools.
So we're talking 15.
Yeah, but that's just all over ABC.
Well, that's the programs for
3 middle schools. Yeah.
Yeah, and
that's right.
you're talking about the private schools also.
Oh, I didn't include that. Yeah,
Okay.
it's quite a few.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I'm reading this and I agree there's lack of real detailed information. And it's not because staff didn't provide it. I think you're just coming to us to see where you're going to take interest in, and then you would provide the details later. So nothing against staff on that. Right. But, I was thinking the same thing. I'm sure the schools and the campuses probably need trees as well. So the effort to plant more trees by the students should, I think, start on campus if there's lacks of trees. Because I know that there's some schools that over the years they've cut down trees but have not been replanted. And there's parents that I know that wish those trees were still there or come back, because that would provide a shade, especially at sporting events out in the field. And then the costs, my question was, who's going to bear the cost of these, right? And it's on our park, so I'm assuming it's going to be cities. The city's going to be having to pay for it. I like the intent of this partnership with the schools, well, more partnerships with the kids in the schools. But I don't feel that there's enough here for us to really tell staff to go back and get more. I think I don't have the right amount of information to show interest in this program because of those issues that were brought up. And the perspective of a student planting a tree is great for the environment, but I think this campus probably needs that as well. So, this was not initiated by the district. It was initiated by somebody on our end. And, again, I like the intent, but I'll be inclined to probably not support this as well for now. So anything else?
Yeah,
Anybody?
can I comment, please?
Sure.
Yeah, and I also applaud the intent and the spirit of this initiative coming to us from our appointed commissioners on the Parks and Recreation Commission to engage our students in what seems to be a very meaningful and well-intentioned initiative to do tree planting in our city parks, our wonderful city parks. And with what was presented to us here as a proposal, a general proposal for this school tree planting initiative, the way recommendation 1A is written, where we can now, we do have the option as a council to have our staff take into account these great comments by my colleagues on the city council on where they see that there's details missing and information missing from this initiative, and our staff could fill in the blanks. That's why I support this. I support 1A, and I would, I'm hearing what my colleagues are saying, but I would second a motion to approve 1A. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Still have to open up public comments on this. Anybody like to speak on this item from the floor? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to council.
I move option C.
Okay.
And that's on the basis that it's not a joint use project.
All right. I have a motion for C. Is there a second?
Yeah, I second Councilmember Barros's motion.
All right, thank you. All right, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Barros,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Yokoyama,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Vo,
Aye.
Mayor Solanki, Mayor Solanki, and the motion passes on a vote of 3-1.
Can we try and reestablish connection with the mayor, please? All right, 9B. Now we're going to go on to 9C. Staff report, please.
Thank you. Item 9C follows up on consensus direction by the City Council to come back with a handbook as it relates to the city's boards, commissions, and committees. And we have information that has been prepared in consultation with the City Council's protocol ad hoc working group. The details of this presentation will be given by Assistant to the City Manager, Ryan Carey. And following his presentation, he and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Robert. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. As Robert mentioned, the item before you this evening has been prepared in response to City Council consensus direction regarding the development of a comprehensive manual for the city's various appointed boards, commissions, and committees, referred to herein as the BCCs. Development of the manual was overseen by the City Council Protocol Ad Hoc Working Group, and the newly created handbook reflects their effort to provide a comprehensive operation manual that applies to all BCCs and which incorporates recommendations regarding modifications to current BCCs and the potential creation of new advisory bodies. A primary objective of this project has been to establish clear, standardized guidelines for all of our boards, commissions, and committees, ensuring that current and prospective members understand their duties, responsibilities, and the expectations that go along with their appointed roles. The handbook provides guidance on a variety of components of BCC service, including member onboarding, meeting management, and adherence to city and state policies. In establishing these standards, the handbook aims to foster consistency, operational efficiency, and a more cohesive working relationship among all advisory bodies. In addition to this foundational guidance, the development of the handbook presented an important opportunity to assess the effectiveness of existing advisory bodies in order to determine whether their functions should be adjusted to meet the evolving needs of our community. Based on this review, the working group has developed several proposals for potential amendments to our existing advisory bodies, as well as suggestions for new committees that would address emerging needs. The proposed amendments include bifurcating the Fine Arts and Historical Commission into two separate entities to provide for a Fine Arts Commission that is focused primarily on public art, and a standalone historical committee that is dedicated to promoting and researching our city's heritage. As proposed, both of these commissions would meet on an as-needed basis. The ad hoc working group has also proposed to rename the Property Preservation Commission to the Property Preservation Board in order to better align the name of the body with its scope of work. Additionally, it's recommended that both a Senior Services Committee and a Disability Advisory Committee be formed in order to better advocate for and address the needs of our senior citizens and disabled residents. Finally, it's proposed that the meeting schedules of the Parks and Recreation Commission and the Let Freedom Ring Committee be formally amended to permanently meet on an as-needed basis. It's important to note that all of these recommendations, if they were to be adopted, would be subject to incorporation via amendments to applicable sections of the Cerritos Municipal Code, which would be presented to the City Council at a later date for further review and approval. To close, the handbook before you represents a significant step forward in providing clear, consistent guidance for all of the city's advisory bodies. It also reflects the city's commitment to ensuring that these bodies evolve in a way that best serve the needs of our growing community. The Policy Manual Ad Hoc Working Group is proud to recommend the handbook's adoption and is confident that the recommendations provided will help improve the overall functioning and effectiveness of our advisory bodies in serving the needs of our residents. This concludes my report, and be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Any questions or comments from the council?
Oh, I don't know if mine's a question or a comment.
Well, yeah, I guess you have to say it. We'll figure it out.
Okay. No, thank you, Ryan, for the report. And thank you, Bruce. I know you spent a lot of time on putting this together, and I like some of the ideas here that you have brought forward. You know, I also thought mindful of staff time, you know, that go to these meetings. So I just wanted to see what my colleagues would think. Just consider. We have the Planning Commission and Fine Arts Commission. And what do you guys think about rolling in the Fine Arts Commission into the Planning Commission? Planning Commission is tied to development, and it would just make sense to have fine arts as part of their portfolio. Because in the end, we, the council, would then approve the art piece. Just something there to think about. And the other thing I was also thinking about, maybe a consideration to combine the Let Freedom Ring Committee into the Parks and Recreation Commission. And I say that because, you know, the staff member that handles both Let Freedom Ring and Parks Commission is the same staff member, and, you know, it would reduce the number of times she would have to come out to a meeting. And it looks like most of the events that we do have under Let Freedom Ring, which is Halloween, Festival of Friendship, and, you know, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Vo, you brought Harvest Moon to the city, and it just seems more appropriate that those events fall under Parks and Recreations Committee or Commission. You know, again, you know, just thinking of the staff time for the meetings, and also kind of reduces the paying out of the stipends on the commissioners. So instead of 9 commissions and committees, we would instead just have 7. So I'm open to discussion on that. Hear your thoughts on that.
Don't forget, we're considering a senior commission.
Yes.
Along with, what's the other one?
Disability.
So there'll be 2 more on the top of that too, so.
No, 7 total, including senior and.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, I don't know, I'm open to a discussion. What do you guys think about that?
Can we wait until after public comments
Oh,
on
okay,
that part
yes.
of the discussion?
All right, anybody else? All right, with that, we'll open up public comments. I do have one speaker that registered on the computer or a laptop, Catherine Pasquale? Yes, I know, I have your card, but I'm going to call her first.
Good evening. Good evening, Council. Linda, I do like the ideas that you just put forward. I have a couple of concerns. The first is that there is some inconsistency in the language across the different committees. So some will say like you need to be a voting or like a resident who is interested in art to be on the art committee. But then like if you're doing Parks and Rec, there's no requirement that maybe you utilize the park facilities or have children or you do something. Like there should be either you've got to take away you have to have an art interest, or you've got to have some requirement for the other committees as well that you have some interest or do something related to that committee. Just for, I mean, we said we're trying to do consistency, and I just think that would help add to consistency. The other thing is that I'm kind of sad to see, as a parent of kids and who talks to other parents on the baseball field, that we would think Parks and Rec Commission should just be met as needed. That feels like a major downgrade. And I would hope that, I know I've said it before in these meetings, but we have a lot of parks, but a lot of them need some updating. We have programs that some of them are still being rolled back out post-pandemic. Some hours are still being, are still altered from where they were pre-pandemic. And so I would just encourage that if we don't have enough for the Parks and Rec Committee to meet about monthly, that maybe we do more in that department. And then the last thing is that I don't like these as needed committees or commissions or whatever they are. I know that as an involved person, that if there was an availability in a committee that was on the second Tuesday of the month, that I'm not available for the second Tuesday of the month, so I couldn't make that commitment. But if it just says as needed, I don't know when that is. People can't plan for that. So I do understand there is staff time and there are costs involved with every additional meeting that we have. And so what I was thinking in my head before Linda made the suggestion to roll a couple things together was that if we're gonna take property preservation and art and split them apart, then maybe one meets in odd months and one meets in even months or something to that effect. But I just feel as needed, and then you try to find these people and put them together and the date's not consistent and it's not standing on their calendar, is just going to lead to them not being very workable groups. I serve on a committee at the school district, and every once in a while we'll get an email saying, hey, nobody submitted anything and we don't have an agenda for this week. We're just going to cancel this meeting. That's no big deal. I can just delete it off my calendar, but at least it was there and I knew to plan for it and staff knew to plan for it, and it's not being sprung on us. And so I do not like the idea of as needed committees. I just think it is not very workable. I know that there are several people who sit on city committees and school district committees, and they're board members in local community organizations or service groups and clubs and things like that. And so I just see these as needed meetings to be problematic for busy people. So thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. And do we have a clock? Okay. Because we usually let the speaker see it, but it's not popping up on screen. Okay, next, nobody else listed on the computer, but I do have a card here by Cecilia Spitzer. Would you like to come up, please?
Hi, it's Celia. Those were some interesting things, and I liked consolidating. I don't think we need all of these things in many ways. And just sort of tacking on with an as needed, sometimes you can just have an ad hoc committee when you need to have it, and it has a fixed time period of 3 months or 6 months or a year, but they are on fixed schedules. As Linda knows, school board has done many times. First, I think a protocol handbook for the city's appointed boards, commissions, and committees is a very good idea so that anyone interested in applying knows exactly what would be expected of them. I've spent a number of hours in the past week reviewing the agenda item with particular attention to pages 9 through 24. Before I continue, I'd like to know, I guess I've got an answer with Linda's reference. Bruce, you were the committee? It was a committee of one?
Yes.
Working group. Group to me means more, it doesn't say, it says working group. That means more than one.
The group is our department heads.
Okay, thank you. I have some questions and a number of specific comments and suggestions for changes that should be made to this draft. Furthermore, I recommend that the council only address items 1 and 2 of the recommended actions tonight. Item 3 needs to be done after suggested amendments are made tonight and possibly at a future meeting or meetings. I personally have a number of suggestions, and given only 3 minutes, but I hope maybe you will extend it because I'm asking questions too, tonight would like the opportunity to meet with staff and/or a couple of council members to share these ideas with those people, hopefully who would incorporate them into a second draft. Some of my questions and suggestions apply to all the appointed bodies, and some are specific to just one. Some of the items are grammatical or spelling or need rewording. I'm not going to go into that. A few people up there know about me and editing things because I've worked with them in the past. My first question is, what is the definition of a board? Furthermore, what are the definitions of commission and committee? How are they the same and how different? Another general question is, why would June 30th be the end of the term? That's nearly 4 months after the election. People would be serving for quite a few months after the person who had appointed them is no longer a council member. On page 10, item A, why would the appointee have to be a registered voter, not just a resident of Cerritos? And would the person have to be registered in Cerritos? Isn't it possible for the person to live in Cerritos but be registered elsewhere, like their place of business? I know that used to be something you could do legally. Also, what if the person is a resident of Cerritos and not eligible to be a registered voter? For each of the appointed entities, the information about them should be consistent in content. Most of the descriptive paragraph information is well done. The rest of the information should be listed similarly: number of members, responsibilities, date and time of meetings, and compensation. I need 30 seconds more. And
All right, you have 30 seconds.
Pardon?
You have 30 seconds.
Thank you. 2 specifics. On the Parks and Rec, why is there a stated monthly compensation if they would meet only as needed? And then on item 6, VI, I feel must is too strong, and specifically listing the various sports events that they have to attend or must attend could end up at some point not even existing. I don't even know if all of those events exist now. The list should be more generic. And for property preservation, item 3 there, and this is the only place that it appears for any of these committees, commissions, or boards, it says, quote, professional attitude during minutes. I don't even know what that means. I'm on that commission. And what does this mean, and why isn't it anyplace else? And finally, I have other suggestions, but my time is up, plus some, thank you. Again, I offer my help in preparing this handbook. As I said in the beginning, it is a good idea, but it needs a lot of editing before it can be presented to the council for possible adoption. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak on this item? All right, go ahead and close public comments, bring it back to council. I know there's going to be comments and questions, so go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, I'd like to point out that the as-needed meetings was a request by staff to put it in there. And to me, it's in there for discussion. It's not something, I personally think they should meet on a regular basis. In the comment, Catherine, that you made, that if it's on the calendar, it's on your calendar. And if we need to counsel, it's a lot easier than trying to go ahead and add. And from sitting, C and I used to sit together on the planning commission. It definitely helps to have it there. And the other part is that it's a training ground, for people that eventually work their way from whatever the committee or commission is up to the planning commission. And Celia, to address your part about the boards, our property preservation is a board. It's an appeal board, basically. Staff, goes through identifies properties that are brought to their attention from, wherever. And it's not, they only have one function, that is to look at the property, make a decision, a recommendation on it, from that. And when you look at, as I did, dozens and dozens of cities, every single time, that's where a board is. And it's always referred to as a boards and commissions and committees handbook. My curiosity rose from the fact that, we don't have any boards, but we, when you look at how they're used, that's the only board that we have that fits with the title board, even though it says property, preservation commissions. That's just to help explain why, the boards is in there. It's to align itself with, the proper use throughout the state here in, with California, but also across the nation. And for some reason, we just took a different turn way back before you and I got involved. Trying to think of the other parts. I'll respond as these things come up.
Linda?
Yes, relating to what Catherine had said on having a set schedule, whether it's monthly or every other month, is there a downside to just having a calendar with the dates? Frank and I, we sit on SCAG, we sit on many other committees where they give us the whole calendar for the year, and oftentimes they do get canceled, and they'll just send us an email that it's canceled. So it's kind of nice just to have the calendar of the dates, whether they're monthly or every other month, and then cancel as needed, perhaps. That's a consideration.
Okay. I want to make a comment on the as needed as well, because I understand the intent of that is because it takes staff time. I think that, however, the thing you got to look at is, I think Councilmember Barros brought it up. It's like a training ground. These committees, commissions, and to have it as needed. I would say probably more times than not, it probably wouldn't be needed and it won't happen. And so part of it too, by having a schedule, it encourages staff to not make up stuff, but to find things for these committees and commissions to do. So that way, as staff, you can kind of mold or train these committee members and commissioners in the understanding of how a city operates. And so on the staff end, we're just going to call it as needed and try and just, call it whenever we have things to do. And some more times than not, you'll probably won't have a lot, right? But you have to look on the other side, that this is your opportunity as staff to train the community on how the operation of the city works. And so although you may not have anything on an agenda item, but these commissioners and committee members are enthusiastic members of our community that wants to come to these meetings. And so you can expose them to the city work. And in doing so, you're helping yourself identify those who might be interested in future, roles as council members or commissioners from committees to commissions. And I understand it takes staff time to do that, but I think in the long-term aspect of it, your staff time that you provide these committee members and commissioners would be far more valuable to you as staff, because you're helping them understand the policies, the procedures, and possibly they may run for council one day. And you've already trained them on how to do that, instead of waiting until someone just runs for council and then having to, learn the process. The learning curve might take a little bit longer. So that's one comment I have on that. And I agree that the scheduling is important. Our community members need to know what dates are scheduled ahead of time, and so do we, and so do our commissioners and committee members. So I'm not in favor of the as needed. I think it needs to be scheduled, and if for some reason it needs to be canceled because there's no business, then we cancel it. But I would encourage staff to find business for these committees and commissions to do, because that's what a great experience for them, right? And I know it costs money to staff, but I think the value of it pays off in the long run. I think that's all I have. I think that my intent was to change that and take that out and just schedule these meetings. You had brought something up about combining. Do you want to go over that again and ask council?
Yes, I just wanted to get what my colleagues think about rolling the Fine Arts Commission into the Planning Commission. In the end, it is the council that decides on the art piece. And it just makes sense that because that planning is tied into development and to put fine arts into their portfolio. What do you think, colleagues?
Bruce, you want to comment?
Well, historically, I remember when I think it was Councilmember Bob Hewlett recommended that we create the Fine Arts Commission. I cannot recall why historical was added to it, but we do know from looking back that the two functions don't work together.
Oh, planning and fine arts?
Fine arts and historical.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
The needs for the historicals can be a little bit different, in terms of how that works. But to join the two of them, I think as we do, development, I know that the planning, if I understand, if I remember correctly, we do deal with, the arts part of it because that's part of the building code. Yeah, it's also part of the 1% for the arts.
Right.
That's where all the money comes from. Quite frankly, I don't have a problem with this. I'm just thinking through it. I haven't thought about trying to combine those two. The issue has always been having people on the planning commission that understand something about architecture and how it relates with, the surrounding area. And to add another function that's a totally different area, which fine arts is, I think it just as those that have been, as you did, you went to Loveland, Colorado, went through the various aspects of it, just to understand how the foundry works, why it's so expensive and why the average cost for artwork in the nation is up around $290,000 right now, according to that one booklet that we were able to get our hands on. There's a need for a skill level in the cities that have it. I know that, as I put in this one, is the requirement to understand it and the placement, in the public. If it's a matter of staff, working on it and have everybody together, to me, it's really going to come down to budget.
Perhaps I can ask the city manager what you think as far as rolling the fine arts into the planning commission, the benefits or no benefit to it?
Well, as was stated, there is a nexus between the two, given that the 1% of the permit fees that's from development, is used to fund public art. Many public art pieces are placed on new development projects. It's at the pleasure of the council how you'd like to have those areas divvied up or combined, but it's within the realm of possibility that they can be combined if that's directed. And I don't know if you want to add something.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Lopez, and Mayor and members of the council. One thing to keep in mind with the Planning Commission is it is the one commission that actually does have state law applicable to it in connection with general plan administration and zoning and other matters. But combining its function, which would basically include jurisdiction that would have the arts connected to planning and any matters that would address what otherwise is considered by the Planning Commission is within the discretion of the council. But just keep in mind that the Planning Commission is the one commission that does have state law that can be triggered with some of the matters that they may be considering.
If I can just add to that, you didn't use the word transportation, but the scope on the Planning Commission is to look at transportation circulation as we did tonight. It's far more involved, more detailed, and the fine arts also deals with, the art placement on our public land, here in the sculpture garden, here on the campus, or even within the library. So there's other, I say the senior center applies and so on. There's, the more I think about it, I think we need to keep those two separate.
Okay. How do you feel about the rolling in the Let Freedom Ring Committee into the Parks and Recreation? Like I said, most of the events that are under Let Freedom Ring, such as Halloween, Harvest Moon, Festival of Friendship, which are cultural events for the city and is already being handled by the Parks and Recreations staff members.
Are you also suggesting that let the actual fireworks
Yes.
ceremony also fall under Parks and Recs, because you mentioned everything else but
Yes,
that?
I'm sorry, and the July 4th event. I just feel like that particular staff member for both Parks and Recs and Let Freedom Ring is the same person. Just combine it all into one. It's almost like an event committee.
Any comments on that? Any?
Well, to me, it makes sense. It's, the Let Freedom Ring Committee no longer, I think, applies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I understand the, history of the creation of it and who is involved, and but there's so much more. Just adding the, the Autumn Moon Festival, Chung, that you brought forward, it has changed that scope. The friendship event that we hold with in conjunction with the mall. It's the same type of deal. I think as we look at this, it's a much broader scope. If that's your recommendation, I think I would, second that. We look at,
Yeah, and I think
second
also
that.
poses more opportunity for that commission to maybe think of other cultural events to add to it. Like I said, the most recent is the Harvest Moon Festival, which is very successful. And I think it just opens up more opportunities.
I think in that sense, I think it's a good idea. But going back to what I said initially, the opportunities for residents to participate in our government body here. There's 10 members, right, in the Let Freedom Ring?
Yep.
And they meet 4 times a year, or 4 times? Do we know 4 or 6?
I believe it's 4 or
4.
6.
Okay.
And typically their role is selecting event flyers and selecting giveaways for the various programs that the city offers.
Yeah, so, combining it does make sense, but also going back to what I said, right? Like, for example, I'll use me as an example. I started on the safety committee, and if I had not had the opportunity to go there and understand the scope of, just the involvement in city advisory boards like that, I wouldn't be here today. And so I just think that, and the reason why probably staff was adding more to that is like I kind of was saying, like, you're finding things for them to meet on, to get them to be involved, and also to be members of our community that are liaisons for us to the community. So to lose 10 members from the community, that's the only thing I am concerned about, because those 10 members, I think, although they're an advisory board, although they come and they select, I think it allows them to understand the process. I know that we can also do that in the parks, so I'm torn between the two. I think going and adding it to the Parks and Recs would make sense as well. But again, I just go back to, we're having committees and commissioners for our residents so they can participate, and they're going to say, like, oh, it's like, we had a resident here who wants to help and participate in a handbook. And I just kind of want to, I know that some of the history, how the Let Freedom Ring started, but, did we have Parks and Recs back then when the Let Freedom Ring start? I mean, I know we're going far back, but.
I believe it goes back that far.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, typically the Let Freedom Ring committee meetings are actually held as called.
Mm-hmm.
And the first Let Freedom Ring committee or celebration was more than 50 years ago. And at that time, there was quite a lot of community involvement with planning the event. And then over the years, the tradition became refined to where there is not a tremendous amount of change year over year because the council and the staff understand what the community loves about the event. So there's certain components that tend to be, it's become tradition. So it's less in a mode of planning as opposed to just sort of a review of promotional efforts.
Okay. Thank you for that information. Because I was going to ask how come it was considered to be part of Parks and Recs back then, because it does make sense to combine it because it's recreation, it's fun, it's in our parks. So having heard that, I'll be okay with combining it as well. And I don't know when that time frame, maybe it's the next election, so that change can be made. But I think as we do it right now, well, I don't think they're going to be meeting between now and the next election anyways, right? Because the 4th of July planning starts about a month before, I think, or 2 months before.
I believe they recently selected items for the Festival of Friendship, which is in
Yeah, that's right.
February.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll be open to that. I just want to, I didn't get a chance to speak about the fine arts and planning real quick. My only concern is the planning department right now, their expertise is in planning, and I don't think we have any art experts. I mean, I don't know, but we do not. And so the reason why I think fine arts should be separated is because although the commissioners may not be experts, our staff has worked tirelessly in the past, and that'd be Kathy. And she knows, I mean, when you talk to her about art, I mean, she knows a lot about art because she's been so involved in it in our community for years. And so that would mean Kathy would have to move to the community development department. You're going to have to get an office down there. No, just that was a joke. We're not moving you, Kathy. Go ahead, Kathy. You have
If I
something to say?
could comment, in the placement of the artwork, I have relied on the planning staff, and I have thought that as the planning commission could be involved because they do review the site and the building and how the artwork could complement the overall design and the line of sights and how it might impact traffic around the site and the placement. So there are a lot of things that work together.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I brought it back, so that gave you an opportunity to comment on that. And I'm hoping you're not saying this so you can move it into the community development and you're going to retire soon. I hope you're not saying that. And if that's the case, then I can understand maybe moving it to the planning commissioner might be worthwhile because I agree they do all that. I was on the planning commission. I remember we had to approve things like that, and discussions were had about that as well. So I know, Bruce, you said that you think they should be separated. With my question with staff, I don't know how much longer you'll be here, Kathy, but if you do retire, we're going to lose your expertise. And once we do that, then who's going to sit there? And so maybe we can plan ahead and maybe incorporate this into the planning department so that planning can start the process of maybe identify who would take over your experience and or you can start training somebody in that. So this is all, of course, based on the city manager's approval. I'm not telling you what to do with your employees. We're talking about the commissions. So that does to me make sense as well to include it, especially if, when that day comes when Kathy leaves. That's my concern, and have a great planning department with the great employees that are very open to learning new things all the time. I think that maybe one more thing to add on their plate, but I know they can handle that. So I would be okay with that as well.
Okay. Chung, if I can just add in, one of the things that Kathy's learned, and she doesn't really talk about, but Chung Kincaid, the guy that owned the Columbine Gallery and did a lot of consulting for a lot of cities, what he explained to us way back when we first met him all those years ago is there's a great difference between plop art and how to place art, where people are interested in it. And his gallery was a excellent place to see that in operation, just how he laid it out, and you discovered things as you walked around. Many cities did exactly that. They used planning to do it, and they just plopped it out. And you look at it, and people that are walking by don't pay attention. You go to cities where it's placed, in a way that it interacts with the population. You see a lot of people there going by it and interacting with it, and it's that part that it's the artists, the people that really work with art, they understand it. That's their hobby, whatever. They have a different way of looking at it. Those that look at planning, we're more, I want to say the word anal, but it's, we're looking at the lines are all lined up properly and all these things are in place that work. And it requires a lot of detail work. And that's the part that when I was thinking back, on the Planning Commission, we need people that can really focus on the detail, but to actually see, the art, and they're going to do exactly what you point out. You're going to be able to see that there's a obstruction, for, the streets or whatever it is. It's good to have that review when there is that potential, but to actually understand how it works, like within the sculpture garden, how it's laid out. We had, at the time when we created ours, the mayor of Newport Beach came up here 4 or 5 times, met with me, met with our staff, and you go down and look at what they have. They understand how to place art. And the Irvine Company gave them a much larger piece of marshland they couldn't build on. So just on the east side of their city hall along MacArthur Boulevard, you see a multi-acre, facility, and you'll see the layout. It's very unique. And that's the part that, the prior city manager, Kathy, and a few of us, whenever we traveled to our seminars, we always took time out to go look at what do the cities have to see what worked, what didn't work. That's what we're going to lose when Kathy retires. It's going to take some time to train somebody else there, and the more I talk about it and think about it, the more I think it's important to keep it separate. Because I think our planning staff does a phenomenal job. Our city is very, very well known. I've had many businesses that have moved into our city as soon as they came across our city boundaries. They knew they're in a different city that they valued very highly. Our residents have all said that I've talked to for the years that I've been here. So I'm at this point, I'm still of the opinion that we should keep them separate.
Oh.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
The recommendation to roll fine arts into planning doesn't mean to get rid of Kathy. She would still heavily be involved with all of that. I just think it's just easier for her to work with planning, work with our city attorney, because ultimately the decision for an art piece is made by council. So that's my thought, is that we really wouldn't need the Fine Arts Commission, because as the city manager had said, it's tied to planning is tied to development, and the fine arts is also under kind of that portfolio, but not to remove Kathy at all. She would.
It's not to remove Kathy. Excuse me, it's not to remove Kathy.
Yeah, no, she would still be heavily involved.
No, she has said that she's looking towards retirement also. I don't know if it's going to be 1 year or 5 years, but it's coming.
If I may just add for context, we do have our public art program is administered currently by Kathy. We do have also Annie Hilton, our Director of Community and Cultural Services, who's been getting up to speed on the administration of that program. Regardless of whatever decisions the council may decide on in terms of commissions, the actual administration of our program, it is my intent as sort of a succession plan that Ms. Hilton would be assisting with that in the current term and in the long term as well.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And the last thing I wanted to bring up is what Celia had brought up, that we go ahead and move forward with items 1 and 2. But I think there's enough comments here we received from the public that perhaps we make some kind of changes, edits to the manual before we approve it. That's just my recommendation.
Okay.
I saw
you have
some
more,
edits
right?
too,
Was
but
that-
I
You
didn't
have
bring
more?
it up.
I'm sorry. I can't hear you both.
Do you have more?
No.
Okay. I'd like to also say you brought up why the June 30th date. It's a very good question, and from a practical manner, when you look at where you have to have our staff, you remember when you and I sat through our training session with the legal part and things that we had to do to be prepared. We have had a few folks that have not been prepared. We had, not too long ago, we had a couple of members that never went to any meetings. So you saw that first full page that the person that's going to be appointed has to say they've read through everything, signed off and everything. There's training that has to be done. There's legal things. There's a lot more now, as you know, that we have to go through the hoops, that Sacramento puts in and so on. Our city attorney, our city, manager, the department heads that would oversee the actual committees. There's a lot of things, for instance, when I was preparing this, Daryl, you sent me a lot of material that you have that for the Community Safety Committee. None of that's in here. There's a lot of training that we have to get them ready for. What other cities have done is said that they recognize it takes time, and we want to go ahead and have an orderly transition so we can get it started. The fact that Sacramento keeps extending the dates out before we can certify an election is what started the conversation. And from that, we found out that there's more of a universal process where it takes a couple of months to get all that done to have the new appointees step into place. It applies on the front end, the same end, and equally. They're going to serve it, the same amount of time. And I know that as a council member, the people that we, bring forward reflect on us. And if they do a good job, we all look good. If they do a bad job, individually, I would look bad if someone did. So I've always paid close attention to my appointees and the fact that what they do helps them to get ready, to participate. So it's not just reading the material, but we have quite a few people. Just for instance, I've heard of one appointee, I don't know exactly when it was, on the Parks and Rec Commission that had never set foot on one of our parks or anything else. So, when you hear about the shape the parks are in, a number of years ago, we used to have our appointees, they divide up all the parks, and one individual go out and look at all the individual, parks that they were assigned to or they signed up for. So there'd only be 4 or 5 parks, but they came back and gave us an update from a resident's point of view about the quality of the parkland. We know that Heritage Park is heavily used by outside groups or even businesses for the kids that come here. They have destroyed the park. And so we have a constant, much higher cost to maintain that park. People have a hard time understanding the numbers I've seen through the Conference of Mayors is the cost to maintain a park on average across the country is $40,000 an acre per year. I have not gotten any number close to that from our staff, but that's the number that was given to me a number of years ago. The quality of parks, Frank, you coach. I remember when we helped out Gar High School. We helped replace, the grids for the lights because the way they were designed, if they fell, they would slice through a kid. At the same time, I go into a whole bunch of stuff on the park, just because I put so many years involved with them. But the point is that I think it's important. I want to cover a little bit about the June 30th is that we need to get each of the appointees all on the same page, for their committee or commission or board, to where they are ready to go the day they step in there. And the part that I've heard from other council members, from this one and in the past, that we need to have a way that we can upgrade the quality and not have just an appointee because we feel obligated because of friendship or the fact they worked in a campaign or whatever. I've had a couple good appointees that applied for the position, just as Chung did for the community safety. And when Carol Chen read his application, she had an opening, and that's how Chung got in his foot in the door. And from that, I had a chance to see that he did a great job, and he moved up to the opening to the Planning Commission, then was able to get elected to the City Council. And I think it makes that position a lot more interesting for those that if everybody is working. And if I recall correctly, when we were on, I think we'd both say that the Planning Commission worked pretty well. That's the intent. There's very little of my writing that's in this. It's a lot of assembly of a lot of different cities, trying to pull them into a workable process that we use based on what I know from either being on a commission or, talking to the various members and council members over the years. When you question the part about the senior, our city is aging. You just look at the demographics. I've been against having a senior committee in the past, but I guess as I've gotten to become a senior, I see there's a different need, and especially when you look at just the demographics. So looking across at the best that I could find to use as a model, that's what ended up in here. The Disability Committee, I see a greater need, now. And just listen to Brian Tom, he was supposed to come tonight. But, when he talked about the need for the, not just, the dollar ride, he spoke at length about the dollar ride, that one night. There's a lot of little things that most of us, if we don't deal with it or have someone in the house with us that has to, we don't really see it. Now, see, I'm going to bring up, I don't know if you don't mind my referring to you, but we were together. This did come up when we were on the Planning Commission here at the corner of Bloomfield and Artesia, where the old real estate building used to be. It's now medical. If you look at the signal light and the lights that are right there, the width of the sidewalk between the edge of the private property and that thing violates the American Disability Act. It was brought up, we talked about it back then, and our staff has never done a thing about it. But that is a real problem. And I've seen people since then with the apartment building across the street. It's a real issue today, and we're at risk because of that. And I don't normally like to talk about a risk at a council meeting where it's a public record, but that's one that we should address. It would have been a lot easier to address it back then, a lot less costly than it would be today. But there's just a lot of little things I've had people bring up, over the years, to me. Brian Tom, since he has had some other issues, has shared, things that he's dealt with. That's just a guy that I know closely. I know it from other family members that have had things in the past. And it's from that reason, that's why I support having a disabilities, commission, committee, however we want to call it. But it's more advisory. It does affect every single commission and committee because the Parks and Rec has to deal with it, planning has to deal with it. So if something comes up, to have a committee that could meet, and the part that I want to support that Chung said, that every one of these is a place we can train somebody to sit on our council, and that will do a better job. I think just the fact that we have a regular meeting, even if there's not much, the fact that we get to know each other and have conversations, we end up making better decisions because we understand things from a broader perspective. And, I really think that my training started with the Planning Commission. And I think, I hear the same. I'm wind this thing up. But anyway, I'll go ahead and move it back to you.
Thank you, Councilmember Barros. Having heard what you said about the fine arts and how it's a specialty type of commission, and I'm reading the report here and I think one of the comments at the public comments said that why do we have one where you're required to have interest and not? And I think under fine arts it says that a resident with an interest in public art, and I think that's important for exactly what you said. Whereas the planning commission, I was on the planning commission, I got used to looking at the developments as a certain way every time. And so you're right, and all of a sudden the public arts came to me, and then I would have to look at it differently. I think that specialty should maybe remain at the Fine Arts Commission. So, and that's what's good about discussion, right? We don't make up our minds until we get here. And hearing everyone speak, I would be inclined to just keep them separated as well. And then, all right. With that, does anyone want to make a motion or a suggestion? Or before we do that, actually, if we're going to make a motion, can we include the recommendations as well? So that way staff knows what it is that we want to do.
Linda, if you don't mind, I'd like to make a motion that we approve it as here with, see, I wouldn't mind meeting with Celia to go over, she's very good at.
She is.
I'm going to use the word nitpicking.
I know.
But you're very good at finding those
She
things.
is.
I want you to know, staff and I have gone back and forth finding things. And the one thing I learned, if you write something, you don't see it. So I appreciate your coming in and making that offer. So if you don't mind, if we can do that, and then do we need to have it come back for that? I mean, if it's just little nitpicky things, I would say just let it go through. Staff has come back to us with changes to the municipal code.
As a second reading,
The municipal code is where it technically is the second reading.
under consent?
That I'm not sure. But if we do this forward, that means we're going to add these two committees. That recommendation.
So I would approve your motion, except with the friendly amendment of rolling in the Let Freedom Ring Committee into the Parks and Recreation Commission. You said yes earlier.
I'm thinking about all the people that are on there that could be
Oh,
potential.
well, so to answer your concerns about that, I actually was going to bring it up under consensus. But I'd like to introduce to my council colleagues a consensus request that I was thinking about for some time after speaking to council members from other cities, is to develop a citizens academy. La Palma has a Citizens Academy. Lakewood has something called Lakewood Leadership. Basically, it's like a 5-7 week program of our various departments that introduces to our residents the inner workings of the city. It would be, each workshop would be like an hour and a half, just to introduce them to the inner workings of our city, get them acquainted to volunteer opportunities, potentially commissions, and even on council. We have a council election coming up, and I'm sure a lot of folks in the city would benefit from such a commission, just to even know what our departments do. So that's kind of where I was, Chung, on that, where I know you have concerns of losing 10 people, but a Citizens Academy would really help our residents.
So just a little history on the citizen. Actually, that's been something that's been discussed in the staff. I know Vita was working really hard on forming that.
Okay.
And I don't know where she left it before she left. I know we've had discussions about the Citizens Academy. I know because it's on one of my to-do lists that hasn't been done.
You take the
But
consensus.
but I think that's already been. Is that some city clerk? Do you know where that's at in the city clerk's office?
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you for your question, Mayor Pro Tem. I know that we left off in the very early planning stages, but there are plans.
Yep.
We do have a base for the program,
Okay.
and we can, with direction, proceed with.
Yeah, I think that's
Moving
something
forward.
that's been interest. of the
This is
council.
the first time I'm hearing about a Citizens Academy from the council. I've never heard anything about it from the city clerk's office. I would be a yes for Councilmember Johnson's request for consensus for a Citizens Academy.
Yeah.
I'd like for that to be co-authored with Mayor Pro Tem Vo, if you don't mind.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I agree that the Citizens Academy is good, obviously, because I'm trying to get that started. But I don't know if I'm comfortable yet to combine. I know I said that I was okay with it, but after all this discussion, I think the Let Freedom Ring serves a purpose for our residents as well. That's another opportunity for them to come speak to the staff and the committee. So I would be reluctant to actually combine those right now. So that, but then it depends on the votes, right? So. Okay, so is there a motion?
Yeah. My motion. Excuse me. Is to accept staff report.
I'll second the Bruce's motion.
Well, he hasn't made a motion yet.
No, I did.
You did?
I'm not going to change it.
Oh.
It's to.
Bruce did it, yeah.
Okay, can you repeat it because I don't know what it is.
Okay, the motion was to approve, what's here on these 5 items, with joining with Sue Spitzer, go through and look at her proposed edits. And if there's no change in the recommendation to council here, that would just go forward.
Okay.
Okay, but the key part is, as Ryan, as you pointed out, is that we have to make changes to our municipal code to authorize these, which is a good time to go ahead and have a final say-so on it.
Okay, so that's your motion, and then I think Naresh has a second on that.
I second that, yeah.
Okay. All right, roll call vote, please.
And I apologize. Prior to the vote, may I please clarify if we have, if Councilmember Johnson did obtain consensus to move forward with the Citizens Academy?
Yes, she got it.
Thank you. And we have a motion made by Councilmember Barrows and seconded by Mayor Solanki to move forward with the boards, commissions, and committees handbook as presented and proceed with the necessary changes to the Cerritos Municipal Code. And I will conduct a roll call vote. Councilmember Barrows,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
No.
Councilmember Yokoyama,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Vo,
Aye.
and Mayor Solanki.
Yes.
And the motion passes on a vote of 3-2.
All right.
I have a question. Moving forward on the Leadership Academy, is that the good title for it?
Citizens Academy Leadership.
Can we ask the city manager when this would come forward?
Thank you. Given this consensus direction, I'll meet with the team to put together an outline of how that would look, and then we can come back with information. I can't commit to an exact time frame. I would say sometime early in the new year after we've had a chance to convene and talk about, an outline and timing of that.
And if I could, Robert, can I share with you also what other cities have done? I know I was very heavily involved in the Lakewood Leadership Program with their city manager as well as their deputy city manager through my scope of work through the supervisor's office.
Yes, I'll be glad to take insights from other agencies and what they've done. Thank you.
And I think Linda be good to take the lead on this because the reason I brought it up Vida just had in discussion. It's because I got the idea from her a while back about Lakewood. So that's why that was a long time ago. All right, let's see. Moving on to item 10. Do we have a report in 10A?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. We do not have any reports for either 10A or 10B.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to 11A, report from the city manager.
Yes, thank you. I have a few items to report this evening. Firstly, I'd like to report back on one of the items that was discussed at the last city council meeting related to public safety. I did commit to providing information to the city council on our progress towards the direction to contract with Southwest Patrol for private security to supplement and complement the work of the LA County Sheriff's Department. Our staff has reached out to them, and they are prepared to do a first phase as part of a longer-term ramp-up to introduce private security patrol in the city. We're looking at having patrols begin as early as next week on a smaller scale, and given the time needed to hire new personnel and get vehicles ready, we would see a further ramp-up in early January, but we would begin to see at least the first patrol as early as next week. And then as we work through a longer-term contract with the company, that would come back to the city council for consideration. So this is a short-term measure for an initial ramp-up phase. Secondly, I'd like to acknowledge that this is Sandy Cisneros' last city council meeting.
What?
Oh. And Sandy has...
Who approved that? Did you approve that?
I've approved it at her request. Sandy is a longtime city employee. She has worked for the city for over 34 and a half years. She started here in our community development department as a planning aide back in 1990. And over the years worked her way up through the department and will be retiring in the role of current planning manager. Sandy has assisted countless numbers of residents on improvement projects, landscape projects, has always been very friendly and helpful resource to our residents, and has also done planning work on several important commercial development. There was the development you saw this evening in our industrial park, but also Sandy was the project manager on the Plaza 183 remodel that took place a few years ago, a few iterations of expansions at Los Cerritos Center over the years, several other shopping center remodels, including the Cerritos Auto Square dealerships, their transition from the old New Orleans style to the more contemporary styles. I'm very grateful to Sandy for the mentorship that she provided me over the years from my being an entry-level planner in community development. I've learned a lot from her on planning principles and the wisdom that she gained from our city's forefathers in the planning area, the tricks of the trade that she had gained from planners of long ago. So I'm very grateful for her service here for the city. I wish her well, and on behalf of all of us, I want to congratulate her, and I'd like to turn the floor over to her to say a few words.
Thank you, Robert, for your kind words. I very much appreciate it, and I very much enjoyed working for the city of Cerritos. I want to say again, good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council, and to tell you that serving the residents and businesses of Cerritos has been one of my greatest honors of my life. As some of you may know, I grew up in Cerritos, which gives me a unique perspective. To have watched the city develop when I was younger, and to have been able to play a part in the continued development as part of the planning team. It has been really rewarding. I have enjoyed working with the dedicated planning commissioners and the city council members throughout the years, and witnessed firsthand how thoughtful planning shapes a thriving community. And I am very proud to have played a role in that process. And then kind of piggybacking on what Linda was saying and Chung about the young people and community members, I would like to encourage any of the young people staying up at 9:45 tonight to consider a career in public service and to think about a career in city planning. You never know. You might end up in this seat. You never know. And anyway, that's all I have to say. And anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate everything you've done, but I think I heard someone had a motion at the dais. Does someone have a motion?
Motion to oppose.
Oh, okay. Unfortunately, it's not on the agenda, so we can't act on it. But I think 34.5 is kind of a weird number. You should round up, make it 35. I've served with you on the planning commission. Some of those projects that the city manager had mentioned, I know firsthand how involved you were, and just a little small time that I was on planning commission, I drive around the cities and I tell my kids, your dad has something to do with that, something to do with that, in a small piece, but you drive around and you are so much more involved than I was. I can't imagine every property that you drive by today and say, that's because of me. So thank you so much for planning our city. Thank you so much for all the times when we call out and ask for help, and your team has always done a phenomenal job. So thank you for your service. All right. Anybody else want to speak on this? Yeah, turn on your mic, Bruce. Bruce, you turn your mic off. There you go.
I do. Sandy, I think I was on the planning commission when you started, and Celia is nodding her head yes also. So I guess I'd go back a little bit further. But when you talk about standing on the shoulders of those before you, we all say the same thing: if you get anything accomplished, you've done great work. I've watched you, through a lot of your promotions, and your wisdom that you're taking with us is priceless. So as you leave us, I'm not really pleased to have that happen, but I recognize that we all have to retire at some point. And I just want to say thank you for all that you've done for the city. As I said, I've had more people than you can imagine talk about how our city looks and operates. And I know, excuse me, I know the challenges when redevelopment was killed by the governor. We had a business model based on entrepreneurship, and it changed everything, for us. And with that loss of revenue, there's no way to make it up. Our property taxes, the share that is, paid and collected by the county, has placed us at a great disadvantage. We're nowhere near, the level of the other cities. So I think what we've accomplished is just amazing. And it's for folks like you and the time you put in and the pride you take in your work that we have a city that looks as good as it is, even though we have more challenges since the governor's actions back then. But, I wish you, great success and just fun in your retirement. Thank you.
Sandy, thank you so much for your service to the city. And like you said, it is an honor to be a public servant. In my day job, I'm a public servant. I'm also a public servant here in the city of Cerritos. Just know that you left our city in a better place, and how amazing it is to really drive around and see that you had your hand in a lot of the projects here in the city of Cerritos. So thank you for making what Cerritos is today. Thank you so much.
Sandy, if I had known that this was your last meeting, I would have praised you back on item 8A on what a great job you did reporting the agenda report. But the reality is, over these years that I've been on the city council, I think about it, and you have been the person that I've had the most conversations with in community development. You've been the person I've had the most conversations with in person and on the phone. you've been the person that's been available for my phone calls, and you've been that warm, welcoming person to our residents. I know that because of the feedback I get. So thank you for all of that. Thank you for taking my dozens of phone calls, maybe over 100. Thank you. And thank you for communicating with me and putting up with me. But most importantly, you make the city look good. You make the city council look good with the way you help us council members with the many, many residents that we've referred to you. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
And Mayor,
Mayor, did you want to? Oh, I'm sorry. Mayor, did you want to make any comments? All right. Robert, do you have any more?
I have a couple more items to under this agenda item. Next, I'd like to congratulate Cindy Nava and Pam Lee on their appointments this evening on behalf of all of our city employees. We look forward to working with them in their new roles. So congratulations. And lastly, I'd like to pay special thanks to Bill Erkey on behalf of all of our city employees for his service as city attorney for the past 3.5 years. And we're grateful for his professionalism and the assistance that he has provided, very dedicated to all of us in all departments. We had a meeting earlier today where we kind of went into some more detail in that, but just wanted to, in front of everyone here, thank him for his years of service as city attorney, and I look forward to working with you as special counsel. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Robert. Any comments from council?
Yes, I do like to thank Bill. You've always kept this council in compliance, kept us out of jail. And so I really do appreciate, Bill, everything that you've done for us. You've always been responsive to concerns that we've had. And I know we're always going to run into each other at conferences. So my best to you.
Go ahead, Frank.
Thank you, Bill. You've been supportive. You've been of great help to us on the city council. I also have been thankful. I'm also thankful for the support you've given in my role as a SCAG regional council member for the cities of Cerritos, Artesia, Hawaiian Gardens, and Norwalk. You've also been helpful with me there. So I appreciate your top-notch legal services and help you've given to the city of Cerritos and to the city council. I also want to congratulate our new city clerk, Cindy. And I also want to congratulate and acknowledge in the audience our new city attorney, Pam Lee, and also our assistant city attorney, Shukan Patel, who have joined us, and they're in the audience. And thank you for being here today. And we're ready to work together with you for our residents of Cerritos and our employees of Cerritos. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. I was going to save these comments about Bill during my closing council comments, but since we're already talking about it here, Bill, thank you for your service. The 3.5 years that you've been here, I've been here with you. I remember when you got appointed by the council, and I agree with your direction. We all are still sitting here, up here, doing the right things at the right time. And you will be missed, but I know we'll be using your services moving forward with other projects. So I know we'll see each other again. So thank you, Bill, for everything you've done, and the fun laughs and the jokes that you tell and we talk about during dinner. It's much appreciated. So thank you for your time. Okay. All right. Any other items? Okay. All right.
If you don't mind, I'd like to.
Oh, of course. I'm sorry, Bruce.
I mean, we can tell that Narish has dropped off the call, but Bill, I've
no, I'm here.
Yeah,
All right, Mayor, you'll go last.
Hang on, you can talk right after me. Bill, I've known of you through your colleagues. I've had a very high opinion of your firm that you're with, and especially the work that you've done. You've upheld that reputation in my mind very well. You've done a stellar job, and I know you're going to do very well in the future. And Cindy, yes, I shared with you before, we had 40-something people that applied for the position. We had some very fine people that we narrowed down to, and you earned the spot that you're in. So I want you, to recognize that you're sitting in a position that we place great value in, just as we do our attorney. We can't operate without any one of the three of our appointees. And we're looking forward to a great relationship. And Pam, as a resident, we have somebody that's close by who understands the city. You're going to bring a lot to the table also. So we look forward to working with you. I mean, I know my time's only three months and a week or so, but that's it. But I look forward to working with you during that time period.
Thank you. And Mayor, you're up. All right, Mayor, stop teasing us. Let's go.
Okay. Thank you, first and foremost, Bill, for your service for 3.5 years. You have done a great job for our city. And thank you. And I'd like to welcome our new city clerk, Sandy Nava. Congratulations. And of course, our new city attorney, Pam Lee. Welcome. And I'd like to thank all the staff members who has worked hard to select, our city clerk and city attorney, and appreciate your service. And also Sandy, been working with you, in 8 years in the planning commission and 10 years in city council. Thank you for your public service, and good luck in your retirement. That's all. Thank you.
All right, don't go too far, Naresh, because we're going to head on to city council communications. And then you want to just go ahead and go first?
Okay. Yeah, thank you, all the staff members. The staff members, the one who makes sure that look good every day. They're the hardest worker employees in our city, and especially the director, the top management. I'd like to, I know this is probably the last meeting for the year, so I'd like to start with, have them give us a comment, starting with the desk from on his way to all the way to the left, and the city manager. So I cannot see you there, but I'm sure you can go ahead and give 2 cents to us, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor. And how's the Vietnamese food over there? Oh, come on. Man, he didn't waste any time, did he? All right, thank you, Mayor. All right, with that, I'll start from my left. Frank, would you like to say something?
Well, I'm going to report on my activities. On December 2, I attended Los Angeles County Supervisor Janice Hahn's swearing-in reception. On December 4th, I attended with regards to my involvement as a SCAG regional council member. I attended the Mobility 21 reception honoring the California Transportation Commission. And then on December 5, I attended the SCAG Policy Committee meeting with Linda Johnson and the regional council meeting. And then that evening, I attended the Cerritos Library Children's Art and Short Story Contest reception with a lot of families and a lot of talented kids with Bruce Barrows. On December 5 and December 7, I attended 3 of the shows of the Leal Elementary School musical production of Oliver Jr. I attended 3 shows because my nephew Keanu was in it, and he was Oliver. On December 6, I attended the Spark of Love Toy Drive at Los Cerritos Center with Sheriff Robert Luna, LA County Fire Department, ABC Channel 7, and Daryl Evans. And we're very lucky that those great agencies, those great first responders choose to have their Spark of Love toy drive here in our city of Cerritos every year. On December 6th, I also attended the holiday lunch at the Cerritos Senior Center to a sold-out crowd with Linda Johnson. And on December 7th, I attended the Artesia Historical Society Holiday Open House. And then on December 9th, I attended the Artesia City Council Reorganization with Linda and Bruce. On December 11th, I attended the annual All Cities Holiday Reception. It was great to get together with all of our friends, all of our local electeds from the surrounding cities at the League, from the League of California Cities, the California Contract Cities Association, and the Independent Cities Association. I was really glad to attend the Friends of the Cerritos Library Volunteer Appreciation and Holiday Mixer on December 10. And right before I came here for our city council meeting, I attended the retirement celebration for Buena Park Council Member Art Brown. 32 years of dedicated service as Buena Park Mayor and City Council Member. I'm very thankful to Art Brown. He was a great mentor of mine for all these years. I've been on SCAG since 2019, and he's finally moving on from service on the Buena Park City Council. Thank you. And happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all the residents and to all the Cerritos employees and to all the friends of the city of Cerritos, the greatest city in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce?
Thank you. You know, as Frank mentioned, we were at the annual arts and short stories, awards, that are, given for the elementary schools. It's a great program, and if you've never attended one with a child, but definitely worth coming to just to see what they've done, just to listen to the short stories is amazing. These young kids, they start out there just like, first graders, second graders, but by the time they're fifth and sixth, some of them speak just phenomenally. And it's definitely an event worth going to. The mayoral transition, really, Tony Lima, which is the mayor that is retiring in Artesia. He and I have attended many, many meetings together. He drove in mostly my car because he lives between me and wherever we're going almost every time. But, a very wonderful colleague, in a city right next to us that reached out. He works very well with everyone. And Frank and Linda and I were there to say goodbye to him. The other, I want to do the same. Wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever the events are that you're going to. Not just for our staff, but our residents. And I agree, our city doesn't have many that compare with it. I've heard very, very few from across the country. And this city is just very, very unique. So the word unique being one of a kind really stands up for our city. And it's a testimony not just to the leadership of the city councils over the years, because, those that I'm looking at on a wall has pictures of council members, mayors that have served here in Cerritos. Those on the left side, which were the early ones, starting back in 1956, you look at what they built. And it's been easy, to build upon that, because of what we've done. We've been recognized as leaders, by many cities, and not just in the area, but across the country. And that's a testimony to our staff's work, because like council doesn't build a single thing. We kind of set the tone or the policy, go in a certain direction. But as far as I know, staff stayed in here until 4, 5, 6 in the morning when the councils were working those long hours. So it's not just us, but I want to thank you guys for the work that you do as we head into, the new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Linda?
Thank you. On December 5th, I was at home for the holidays at the Cerritos Center for the Performing Arts. December 6th, I was at the holiday luncheon at the Cerritos Senior Center with Frank. On December 7th, I'm back at the CCPA to watch mariachi. If you've not seen it, you've got to see it. It's going to be my new tradition every Christmas season. On December 9th, I was at the Artesia reorganization. Congratulations to newly elected Mayor Ali Taj and Mayor Pro Tem Renee Trevino. And on December 11th, I was at the Employee Recognition and Holiday Luncheon with Mayor Pro Tem Vo. It was a great event. Got to see all the employees get their milestone awards. And I just do want to say happy holidays to everybody, to our various departments from community safety, public works, community development, the theater, administrative services, community and cultural services, MIS. All of you guys, I have you on speed dial, and you've always been very helpful to not just me, the council, but to our residents as well. You truly are public servants, and Cerritos is very fortunate to have you guys up there, as leaders. And so I really appreciate the work that you have done. And to our Cerritos residents as well, Maligayang Pasko.
Thank you. December 5th, I attended the LA County Sheriff's drone demo here at the station. Just want to thank the Sheriff's Department for providing that to our local deputies as a training day for them to understand the drone program. On the 10th, December 10th, it was a tight schedule for me, but luckily everyone kind of accommodated my schedule. But at 6 o'clock, I was at the Friends of the Library, a volunteer event. And then from there, I rushed over to a 6:30 start for the La Palma City Council reorganization, honoring outgoing Mayor Marshall Goodman. And then right after that, I went to speaking military time here because I'm used to it. I forget I'm retired. 7 p.m. Carmenita Middle School performance at Whitney High. And then on the 11th, yesterday, I was honored and lucky that the mayor's that was out of town, so I was able to MC the Cerritos Employee Recognition Luncheon. I had a lot of fun. It's just so great to be able to recognize all the employees that serves this city from 5 years all the way up to 40 years in increments of 5. And sometimes I'm just shocked that we have employees that work all the way up to 40, and they're still enthusiastic about working here. And so it's very much appreciated to the employees. I think a lot of you were there. Hopefully I did an okay job and, in honoring our employees, and at the same time had some fun. There were some good awards given out, and it was hosted at the CCPA. What a great venue for us to have that the city can use. I know before we had transitioned here and then we moved over to CCPA, that theater, it just stands out in people's memories. And when they actually get to go there, and events like the city employees and transition where folks go there for one purpose, but they happen to have it at the CCPA and they get to see the inside of that theater is amazing for them. So I want to thank the theater for hosting it. And then before I go on, I was going to do this at closing comments, but I do want to congratulate City Clerk Cindy. Bruce is right. We went through a list of candidates, a lot. I'd say maybe a little bit more than even the city manager. I don't know. Actually, it might be the same. But there was a lot of interest. There was more, right? Yeah, there was a lot of interest in the city clerks. Yeah, And so that tells you that you beat out the competition, not because you're an employee here, but because we looked at the package that the other applicants, we interviewed them. People sometimes think, oh, because she works there, she's got an advantage. But really, we looked at everybody really closely. We interviewed people, and you came out number one. And so you just have to know that all the things you've done has brought you to where you're at. We had a public comment, written comment, and I know you didn't want to read it, but it's true. You started off at Parks and Recs, and Sandy, you said this too. Working in the city of Cerritos is unique, I think, because you never know. You may know where you start, but you never know where you end up. So you apply that one time just to get a job here. And we have so many examples of that. And Art Galucci is the biggest example of that. He started in Parks and Recs too. And so it's just, you never know where you're going to end up. And you successfully have gone all the way to city clerk. And so congratulations. Congratulations to our former assistant city attorney and now new city attorney, Pam Lee. I'm looking forward to working with you as well. The council has lots of things to do, and so your job's not going to be easy. So don't think you're getting a path here. So just be ready to work. Bill might be relieved a little bit, but at the same time, I just want to congratulate you as well for your new position and also your interest in the city to be our city attorney. All right. So with that, I do have some announcements. Bruce, here he went. Yeah, he was coming back and forth, but here it is, public comments. All right, so I have some announcements for the community. The Santa's Holiday Island. The city will be hosting the Santa Holidays. Why can't I say that? That's like Santa's Holiday Island this Saturday at Heritage Park from noon to 3:30. All right, where children and their families will have the opportunity to participate in crafts, holidays, music, and games. And we'll be able to meet Santa, so Santa will be there. That's great. We picked our city of everywhere else in the world to be here on Saturday. And then don't forget Santa Holiday Float. They're going to be, the next one is tomorrow, December 13th. That'll be Route 4. And then Tuesday, December 17th, Route 3. Wednesday, December 18th, Route 2. And Thursday, December 19th, route number 1. And for those who haven't seen it, I don't know where you've been, but hopefully you get to see it this year. I think it's a great tradition that the city has, and we're very fortunate that our staff puts up that event for us every single year. And it takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of sheriff's deputies. Safety is our utmost concern. And I know one night, the first night, I believe, it got disrupted a little bit by, a disruptor, I'll just say. And so that course got stopped. So for those residents who weren't able to see the Santa float in that route, I apologize, but it was out of our control. And for the safety of everyone on the float, we had to avoid that area. Okay, so I think that's it. And we're going to close session. Bill, you have an announcement?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. First of all, just before I make the announcement, Mayor and council members, thank you for their kind words. It has been an honor being your city attorney. And Pam and I work very well professionally. You're in very good hands, and I'm sure we'll be in communication. We've already been talking, so thank you for the kind words. As far as closed session, items 12A, 12B, and 12C, there is no need to have closed session because those items were voted on earlier in the open session. So there are two items for closed session tonight. Item 12D, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957.6. Agency negotiators are Robert A. Lopez, City Manager, Drew Schneider, Director of Administrative Services, Amy Thomas, Enterprise Services Manager, and Joseph Larson from the City Attorney's Office. Item 12D is for employee organization AFSCME Local 619, and 12E for unrepresented employees full-time exempt. And with that, we can recess to closed session. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, and we'll be recessing the closed session.